They called him a god among men, a sage who had mastered every secret of the divine domain. But gods aren't meant to cough up blood on the floor. Struggling for breath, this so-called divine mage clutches his chest, powerless against the disease that no magic can erase. The world praised him as invincible, but tonight his body betrays him. And in the very moment the secret spell he created twists fate itself. Opening his eyes, the mage initially sees his hands. But wait, these are the hands of a baby. The mage is still dazzled by his new appearance when a woman approaches the crib, dotingly picking him up as he's now awake from his nap. A man then arrives, smilingly asking the woman how their Lucien is doing. Although he's just woken up, Lucien appears to be still sleepy according to the woman. The baby mage observes this man and woman's exchange of words, and instantly notices how they both look so happy. These are his new parents, and his new name is Lucien. Raising his hand slightly, the baby mage realizes how soft his hands are. It's totally different from his past life. Before he could delve deeper into his thoughts, another magical being appears upside down in front of Lucien. Alarmed, Lucien frantically waves both his hands in an attempt to warn his parents of the intruder. But the man only laughs this off and tells Lucien his warnings are no good. This man has already made sure Lucien's parents can't see him and can't understand a word that comes out of their baby. Now, for proper introductions. After greeting the sage in his new body and identity as Lucien, the man introduces himself as what humans would call God. Lucien's brow burrow as he questions why this god knows him. The playful god winks at him, divulging he knows everything there is to know about the sage, his regrets, his wishes. God was watching everything unravel in the sage's past life. God was there when the sage was drawing his last few breaths. He was there to see the sage alone and dying, wishing he took on an apprentice in the first place. But still, if he had passed down his knowledge and skills, the sage knew no one would understand. That's why he spent all his time and effort on his own magical research. At that point, the sage never bothered with the criticism he got for being eccentric. The only con to this is that everything, from the first spell down to the last potion, will all vanish with him in his death. Everything he's built would be for nothing. This is why he vowed to live his next life differently. The sage promises to share his knowledge and skills far and wide, contributing to the world of magic. He'll make sure everyone can live a prosperous life through the art of magic. And if he finds someone he loves, he'll get married and have children. But if that's not possible, the sage promises to take on an apprentice this time. The sage's candle appears to have finally met its end. The sad thing about this is that the sage had no one around. To die a lonely death is something he never expected at all. The god saw it all, and as he stares at the sage's body, he strongly agrees with his desire to contribute to the world of magic. Because the god saw the progression of today's magical technology a bit slower than expected, he somehow shares the same sentiment and ambition as the sage. So to ensure that both their wishes come to fruition, the god blesses the sage, in the form of Lucien, to help him along the way. A confused Lucien watches as the god's forefinger touches his forehead. After light emanates through the god's finger, Lucien touches his forehead. He listens while the god explains how Lucien came to seek and master his craft in magic. Lucien was an eccentric and a renegade in the past. This is why he became the mage of the divine domain that even a god couldn't help but acknowledge. The god casually walks towards the door. And as he bids farewell to Lucien, who just became the emissary of the god wishes him the best of luck in his second life. Dumbfounded, Lucien stares at the door. Did that god just use the front door like a normal person? Good thing only one of Lucien's parents caught a glimpse of it opening and closing. Anyways, back to this loving family. The dad starts poking Lucien's cheek. Upon seeing Lucien without any reaction, the dad comments on how quiet their baby is and doesn't even cry at all. But he was so lively moments ago though. The dad even tries cheering Lucien up, calling his son a genius. The mom lovingly coddles Lucien. To her, it doesn't matter what Lucien is as long as he grows healthy and strong. Not long, the appraiser finally arrives and asks if Lucien is the one she'll be seeing. The mom cheerfully confirms this and lays Lucien on the bed as per the appraiser's instructions. The appraiser is now going to appraise Lucien and see his aptitude. Now that Lucien is on the bed, the mom can't help but feel excited as to what kind of aptitude her son will get. Even the dad is guessing Lucien will have the aptitude of a great mage. Be careful what you wish for. Smiling, the appraiser praises both the mom and dad for being doting parents, especially that they don't have any blood ties to nobility. Now the appraiser starts her appraisal on Lucien, who is already feeling bad for what he's doing. He can't have the appraiser see his abilities, so this baby is using concealment magic to block the appraiser's magic. The appraiser now seems confused because she can't see anything clearly. Lucien, on the other hand, tries to use appraisal magic on himself. It's great that the concealment magic is working well on hiding his abilities too. Summoning his stats, a panel appears before Lucien, who immediately clicks to see what magic he can use right now. Apparently there's a lot he can do. space, smithing, enchantment fixation, alchemy, gravity, and God's divine protection. This is to avoid all forms of misfortune. Lucien now understands what the god meant with bestowing him with the blessing. The god made it so Lucien can use all sorts of magic. What Lucien doesn't realize is that he uttered everything out loud, shocking everyone in the room. They just heard Lucien talk, but refusing to believe it. Lucien talks once again, wondering what kind of magic he can use with his body right now. Both his parents rush towards the crib, shocked with what they just heard. Could their son really be a genius? The appraiser herself had been so taken aback with hearing Lucien talk that her knees went numb. Lucien now realizes the god must have undone the magic on his parents earlier. That's why Lucien's words can finally go through. Knowing these people will be taking care of him, Lucien decides to properly greet his parents. Lucien then uses his support shadow double magic, wherein one can use when injured or have difficulty moving on your own. Your shadow will replicate your usual movements. The baby is now standing up in front of his parents. Before the adults could say anything, Lucien greets his father and mother, asking them not to be so surprised by something so trivial. Lucien then bows his head as a sign of respect, asking his parents for their kindness as they are going to raise him for some time. Both his parents are awestruck with how respectful Lucien sounds. It's like they're talking to an adult. Using gravity magic to sit down, Lucien floats up in the air, noting how convenient this magic is for him. Once again, his parents are amazed with how dignified their son looks even with the way Lucien sits down. Their son is even cute floating in midair like this. The appraiser is now in a loss for words, currently in a state of vomiting. With reincarnation magic, one can't choose your parents. But Lucien was lucky enough to get good people as parents. As the mom gently grabs Lucien towards her, the baby sage cuddles onto his mom's chest, sleeping as he does so. This is how his second life started off. 6 years later, Lucien is now 6 years old and is currently busy reading a picture book. His mom suddenly pops out to ask Lucien what he'd like for dinner. Since there's still some meat from yesterday, Lucien happily agrees to it. Within the 6 years he spent with his new family, Lucien has learned a lot about their family. For instance, their Gildor family are farmers. His father's name is Sammy and his mother is Sophia. The three of them live in a simple and quiet home. Although they aren't wealthy, Lucien has no complaints at all. He enjoys being the son of such doting parents. Well, the only thing he's having problems with is that the Gildor household doesn't own a single book. So until now, Lucien hasn't learned anything about his current location. He was able to borrow books from the old man, Mr. Forson, who lives 2 houses from theirs. However, Lucien is stuck with picture books since Mr. Forson says historical books are way too advanced for a 6-year-old to read. Upon stumbling on a page of the picture book, something catches Sophia's eye. She then points to a picture of a mountain with a missing peak. It's called Full Moon Mountain, a famous spot in the Gastiana Kingdom. According to legend, a dragon supposedly blew the peak part of the mountain away with its breath while sleeping about 500 years ago. An even fonder memory that Sophia remembers is that she and Sammy visited the tourist attraction before they got married. Sophia's happy state turns into a frantic one when she sees Lucien slamming his face on the book. The poor mom is worried Lucien might have an upset stomach. Lucien meekly tells his mom he's fine. Inside, Lucien is beyond embarrassed by what really happened to that mountain. In his past life, Lucien blew that part of the mountain away with a single sneeze. He can't possibly tell his mom about his, especially that this happened 5 centuries ago. This just means this is the same country Lucien lived in during his past life. He just couldn't recognize the name because it had changed over time. Lucien then informs Sophia he'll be going out to return the picture book to Mr. Forson. With Sophia's approval, Lucien ventures out towards the old man's house. While walking, Lucien thinks about what he just learned. This really is 500 years later. He had completely forgotten about that sneeze incident near the royal capital. Lucien doubts he can do that again in his current body. After Lucien's magical appraisal as a baby, he came down with a fever from the backlash and was bedridden. Even with great power, a young body can't handle it all at once. Lucien has been gradually training his body to adjust to his overwhelming magic power. And now that he's already 6-year-old, Lucien will be able to use some advanced spells. Lucien finally reaches Mr. Forson's house. Knocking on the door, Lucien greets the old man as he enters the house with permission. Mr. Forson then spots the book in Lucien's hand and guesses the young boy has already finished reading it. After thanking Mr. Forson for the book, Lucien hands it over to him. The old man then asks the young sage if he had enjoyed the book, to which Lucien awkwardly smiles as he replies he didn't. Mr. Forson laughs it off, thinking the book may be too hard for Lucien to understand. He then turns to the array of books neatly displayed on his shelf, asking Lucien which one would he want to borrow next. Lucien then asks if Mr. Forson had any books about magic. Laughing once more, Mr. Forson shares that he has all sorts of valuable books, but unfortunately, magic books are usually only found in noble households. This doesn't make any sense to Lucien, who lived in an era where every home had a few on their shelves. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the arrival of Anna, Mr. Forson's granddaughter. When Mr. Forson dotingly asks the girl if she wanted to play with him, Anna ignores him and heads straight to Lucien to ask if they could play. Mr. Forson is beyond dismayed with his granddaughter's reaction and is sulking in the corner with a cloud raining on him. He sadly asks Lucien to play with Anna a bit as a thanks for borrowing the book. Both Anna and Lucien then go outside to sit by a tree. Anna then asks Lucien if he's a noble, to which the boy denies. He's the eldest son of a farmer is what he tells Anna. She still doesn't let it go and asks why he was talking to Gramps about magic earlier. This is when Lucien finds another intriguing thing about this era. Anna divulges how only nobles can use magic. Lucien himself can't seem to wrap his head around that thought. He even tells Anna maybe she heard it wrong. But Anna pointedly says it again, this time in Mr. Forson's voice too. Only those born in nobility can use magic. Commoners like them couldn't do it even if they stood on their heads. Lucien still doesn't believe this, thinking it might just be because of Mr. Forson's old age, or maybe he was half asleep that time. How can that ring true when magic is supposed to be something anyone can use? Even him, the eldest son of a farmer, is no exception. It's just like how there are no humans who don't breathe. There are no humans who can't use magic too. Crossing his arms, Lucien knows there are differences in what types and level of difficulty people can handle. That was common knowledge in his time. Lucien can't believe how things are very different now. I mean, look at him, he's a son of a farmer and he can use magic just fine. He snaps out of his inner ramblings when Anna calls his attention. The young girl approaches Lucien closely to whisper if she too can learn magic. When Lucien confirms this, Anna yelps in pure joy and asks him to teach her. Lucien then goes into thinking mode, brainstorming which magic is simple enough for a child Anna's age. He then remembers the hand spinner magic. It was simple and a basic technique, so it became pretty popular among children in Lucien's time. Opening his palm, Lucien summons a gust of swirling wind on it and shows it to Anna, who's very much amazed. When she asks on how Lucien did it, the young sage happily obliges on teaching her. First, she must gather magic power in her hand. However, this first step proves to be difficult for Anna to do. She tries her best to summon magic power in her hand, but to no avail. A crying Anna screams in disappointment. Looking at Anna's tearful stance, Lucien calls this strange. In his time, kids could do that simple magic trick for fun. In this era, do they not teach children how to use magic? Lucien then deduces that it must be because common knowledge has changed in the last 5 centuries. It's just now that Lucien realizes that even his own parents were shocked when they saw him use magic. All of a sudden, Anna stops crying upon hearing a voice nearby. They both follow the voice and find an injured animal. Lucien can't say what it is exactly, but one thing's for sure. It's injured. Lucien warns Anna not to go near as it might be a monster pretending to be harmless. Crouching, Lucien uses his appraisal magic to see what this animal is. Lo and behold, it's actually a fairy. Forest fairies usually resemble plants, but this one looks like a mix between a beast and spirit. The fairy cries in pain and Anna is on the verge of crying again. Lucien then assures Anna he'll help the fairy, even giving it the name Ron. Using his recovery magic, Lucien lays a hand out towards Ron. Light instantly surrounds Ron's injured body, and before they know it, Ron is now happily smiling at Lucien and Anna. Ron is now back on his feet. Anna is also glad to see that the fairy is doing better. Lucien also reminds Ron not to move around much because he only used first aid and wasn't able to fully heal Ron's wound. It would be great if they had any potion with them. At the mention of potion, Anna brings out the potion she had. It was gifted by her Gramps in case she got hurt. Anna's a really spoiled grandchild. Inspecting the potion, Lucien notes its cloudy appearance. This just means the quality isn't that great. Even if he gave it to Ron, it won't do much. Their attention is suddenly reverted to a horde of men chasing after a death boar. It's not looking good for both Anna and Lucien when the death boar is heading their way. Its monstrous tusks and angry demeanor is coming straight at them. But Anna is that scared, she's basically glued to the ground. This leaves Lucien no other choice but to use magic to defend themselves. Touching a small growing branch, Lucien uses material composition change and form change to turn the small plant into a humongous tree. Now that the tree has managed to block the death boar's impending attack, Lucien flicks his fingers to use Ignite, summoning a raging fire on the boar. The men watch in pure shock as the death boar has now turned into charcoal in an instant. They soon realize who Lucien is, the son of a Gildor farmer. So they're quite confused why he was able to conjure magic when he's not of nobility. A man clad in armor then rushes towards the scene. He's here in response of the request they received, but is surprised to see that the death boar has turned into a well-done roast. Upon seeing the soldier, Lucien immediately approaches him in hopes that he might know something about magic. Lucien quickly informs the soldier that he roasted the boar using Ignite, shocking the soldier. The soldier refuses to believe Lucien used magic. It's impossible since it's only accessible to nobles. No commoner can ever use magic even if they stood on their heads. The soldier sarcastically scoffs at Lucien for lying. Clenching his fists, Lucien is now 100% certain that this era is indeed strange. By the looks of it, none of these people are even thinking about using recovery magic to heal those injured or even fix fallen trees and damaged houses with elemental magic. In the 500 years since Lucien died, what exactly happened to the world? Lucien is in deep thought, thinking of all the possible answers to his question. Anna suddenly comes running towards him with Ron, thanking the young sage for saving her. With eyes glittering with excitement, Anna tells Lucien how amazing magic is. She cheerfully recalls how the wood went whoosh and the fire went fwoosh. It was so cool to a child like Anna who wants to be able to use magic like Lucien too. With Anna's proclamation, Lucien realizes this is what the god mentioned when he was a baby. The progress of the magical technology in this era is slower than expected. It has the god concerned. Patting Anna's head, Lucien promises she'll be able to do so if she puts in the hard work and the will to improve. Magic is supposed to be something anyone can use. So why can't people here manage to conjure even the basic anymore? There's a lot Lucien doesn't understand. Only nobles can use magic. Commoners can't use it. Although he is plagued with questions, Lucien refuses to accept the state of modern magic now. All those preconceptions along with this reality and these fixed ideas will all be overturned by Lucien. With his strong will, Lucien vows to create a world where everyone can learn magic, so that all people can live better lives. Recalling his past, Lucien used to scribble in the air all thanks to magic. People would comment on it being a usual thing the sage does every day. Lucien's always enthusiastic that he always scribbles all those magic symbols everywhere he went. So that's exactly what he does today. Gathering magic at his fingertips and writing directly into the air, Lucien begins his magical note-taking. In his past life, this is also what everyone did instead of jotting notes on paper. They didn't need paper or a pen before, just wrote everything in the air and folded it down small to carry with them. It's a super useful technique. Before. As young Lucien finishes scribbling, he turns to Anna, his current student, who reveals she can't see anything there but a wall. This stones Lucien in place, stopping his enthusiastic writing. So Lucien tries his mom, scribbling in the air, and asks if she could see it. But Sophia only smiles at her son, asking if Lucien is doing a new kind of dance. Lucien still isn't convinced and goes to his dad. Unfortunately, Sammy can't see the magical writing as well, and even asks if Lucien wrote "I love you, Dad" in the air. In despair, Lucien stops writing all at once. He is extremely baffled by the fact that no one can see the magic symbols except for him. After the death boar incident the other day, Lucien already confirmed the magic technology of this era hasn't advanced at all. It's actually regressed. Later that night, Lucien can't sleep thinking of this dilemma he's facing. It's bad enough these people believe only nobles can use magic. Even if he tries teaching them his techniques, they still wouldn't understand. So Lucien does an all-nighter coming up with a plan. First, he'll spread the fundamental knowledge of magic in a way anyone can understand, even his parents and Anna, who has zero knowledge on magic. Lucien spends the whole night writing, in the air, this Introduction to Magical Technology guide. Kinda like a magical guide for dummies 101, but all this scribbling faces another problem. How is Lucien supposed to make them read his guide if they can't even see it? Left with no choice, Lucien approaches his dad the next day. For moral support, Anna even comes with him. Without hesitation, Lucien asks his dad for something he wants. Sammy is astonished and deeply moved that his son has just asked for something. This is the first time Lucien has ever asked for anything. Excited, Sammy crouches to Lucien's height and immediately asks what he wants, ready to give anything even if Sammy has to take down a death boar. When Lucien asks for a pen and paper, all the excitement from Sammy's body instantly dissipates. Sammy then apologizes as he won't be able to procure paper for Lucien. Heck, dealing with a death boar is an easy task, that getting paper. Anna then tells the young sage that paper is actually super precious. Even Mr. Forson, who collects books, doesn't have a single sheet of paper. Why was paper so hard to obtain now? And isn't it strange for someone to own books but has no paper? Sammy crosses his arms, sharing to Lucien that paper is such an expensive thing to buy. He had seen it for sale in town but has never touched it in his entire life. If Lucien wanted to buy some, it would cost them about a month's worth of their living expenses. It's that expensive, even Lucien is breaking into sweat upon learning this. In his past life, paper was actually pretty cheap thanks to advancements in magical technology. To think it's gotten so expensive 500 years later. Patting Lucien's head, Sammy smiles at his son and asks him if there's anything he wants aside from paper. He then shares how Lucien always handled everything himself, so Sammy feels a little lonely not being relied on. Out of nowhere, Ron comes running and jumping towards Lucien's arms. Anna then asks the fairy of its whereabouts since she's been looking all over for him. Apparently, this little ball of cuteness disappeared right after the whole death boar incident. Seeing Ron for the first time, Sammy asks his son if Ron is a monster, but Lucien tells him that Ron is a fox and asks if he can keep it. Now this is something Sammy can actually agree to. After cheerfully saying yes to keeping Ron, Sammy calls it a great day. Not only has Lucien asked for something for the first time, but he's also taking an interest in Sammy's work. In Lucien's mind, his goal is to get some paper for him to make a grimoire. If it costs a month's worth of living expenses, then he has to figure out how to get money himself. Lucien then spots some tools his dad uses for work. Inspecting them, Lucien can tell they're pretty well used and are rusty in some places. Even the blades are chipped. While his dad is busy, Lucien uses his magic on the tools, carefully enhancing them. His magical work goes unnoticed, and not long after, Sammy takes both of them outside to start working on cutting the grass. As Lucien cheers for his dad, the young sage thinks of his plan on earning money for paper. He could actually make paper with magic like in his past life, but Lucien doesn't have the materials for it, and that would take too long to make enough paper. Hunting a large number of monsters in the forest is completely out of the question, since Lucien doesn't know what impact that would have on the ecosystem. Just as Sammy is about to cut a portion of the grass with the magically repaired tool, it suddenly slashes through the whole area of grass. A shocked Sammy holds onto his scythe as he calls the attention of his son. He even takes a look at the grass behind him and is startled to see it fully cut. This has been Lucien's plan all along. Since none of his ideas are doable, the next option would be to support his father, the family's breadwinner, to increase his work efficiency. That way, their income will also be boosted. Now Sammy doesn't have to worry since the grass is cutting itself. Lucien looks at it proudly. He only used smithing magic to improve the tool's performance and then enchanted it with an area of effect widening wind-type magic. I guess Lucien overdid it a bit. Sharing sandwiches for lunch, Lucien then reveals to his father about using magic on the scythe. It's more than lessening the burden on Sammy too. It's now easier since it usually takes him hours to finish cutting the grass. Sammy is proud to have a son like Lucien who is really loved by magic. Hearing this, Lucien is quite embarrassed and tells his dad it's actually not a big deal at all. But to Sammy, it's like a miracle. He then reminds Lucien that he mustn't show off his magic and must never use it for any evil intentions. Lucien smiles as he chews his sandwich, agreeing with what Sammy said. Not that Sammy is worried though. He knows Lucien is a good kid. Lucien was actually thinking of gathering some random farm tools, enchant them with magic, and sell them to the villagers for a high price. It's not like his father saw right through him, right? As Lucien continues eating his sandwich, he notices the withering plant in front of him. It's not doing well, it seems. According to Sammy, this field actually got hit by bugs. Sammy has been taking measures against them, but there's not much more he can do. When Lucien asks if he had used pesticides to kill the bugs, Sammy says they're not very effective and very expensive. All the fields have been hit by these bugs this year. It's not helping that they haven't gotten much rain, too. On top of that, a death boar even showed up to tear up the fields. Everyone in the village is at their wits' end. Having heard all this, Lucien swiftly stands up. That's exactly what he needed to hear. Lucien then readily bows to Sammy and excuses himself, telling his dad something came up. Anna also follows the retreating Lucien. Inspecting the dying plants Lucien uses is appraisal magic on them. No matter how much he can improve efficiency with farm tools, crops can still wither depending on the weather and environment. Thanks to appraisal magic, Lucien already knows the state of the crop's growth as well as the type of bugs eating the leaves. With this information, Lucien knows exactly what would nicely on them. Meanwhile, Anna and Ron are happily sitting as they watch Lucien pick out some herbs. Ron then leaves Anna's side to run towards some herbs. After Ron calls his attention, Lucien takes a look at the herbs Ron showed him. This is exactly the medicinal herb he's been searching for. Lucien gives Ron a loving pat on the head. Anna then calls Lucien to show him the plant she proudly found as well. Using appraisal magic on it, Lucien finds out it's actually a super dangerous poison mushroom that's lethally poisonous if eaten. After thanking Anna, Lucien keeps the mushroom. He doesn't really need it, but it would be dangerous if Anna were to eat it by mistake. Sometime after, Lucien finally has all the herbs he needs. When Anna asks him of his plans with them, Lucien confidently tells her he's going to make medicine. Lucien doesn't waste much of his time and immediately gets to work. Using alchemy, starts making the medicine by grinding up the Fudokoro grass. This magic is actually from God's blessing. Pretty convenient too. After grinding and mixing it with water, Lucien continues to stir it just like the guide said. He always thought making medicine would be a more complex process. Suddenly, the concoction bursts a blinding light. The medicine is now complete. This is a crop-nurturing potion which is an insect repellent and promotes growth too. After a week, Sammy happily informs Lucien that the medicine he made is amazing. Sammy has only used it on a small part of the field so far, but the crops there are growing so much faster and better. It's like they were never wilting in the first place. Lucien is happy to hear that it's working and can't wait for the plans to bear good fruit. Suddenly, a swarm of farmers arrive to ask Lucien if A could share some of the medicine with them too. They all saw Sammy's field and want their crops to be rid of pests as well. Staring at them, Lucien realizes how his life is different now. In his past life, he has only pursued magical techniques and wasn't the type to go out of his way to make something for others. But seeing all the people's happy faces enjoying something he made feels pretty great. Of course, the young sage shared his medicine with everyone. A while after, Lucien tries on the sling bag his dad gave him. It's an old carrying pouch, but it looks like the perfect fit for Lucien. Meanwhile, Sophia is looking rather worried about sending Lucien into town all by himself. Both his parents have contrasting reactions. While Sammy readily agreed to Lucien going to town, Sophia had been worried even with Sammy's reassurance that their son will be alright. Besides, Lucien could just use his magic and go boom if something happens. Not really helping Sophia's nerves too. Before Lucien leaves, Sammy hands him a bag of money. Everyone in the village chipped in so Lucien could buy the paper he wanted. They all said it's a thank you gift because his medicine worked so well. The money should be enough to buy a paper and a pen. Sammy then reminds his son to be careful not to lose the money. It's not like the villagers have a lot of money to spare. Yet here they were, giving Lucien this much. Smiling, Lucien thanks both his parents. Sophia also instructs Lucien not to go off with strangers and come straight home once he's done with his errands. Giving him a tight hug, Sophia tells Lucien he's still their precious child no matter how amazing his magic is. Bidding his parents goodbye, Lucien ventures out towards town. It's a 2-hour walk to town for a kid like him. It's a good thing he's no ordinary one. Using gravity and wind magic, Lucien begins hovering mid-air with Ron. Controlling his posture with wind magic is a bit tricky though, but with practice, he'll get the hang of it. At this rate, Lucien will be in town in no time as well. Meanwhile, a butler asks a nobleman of the name McLean if something's wrong. The man shares how he felt like the spirits are unsettled just now. Dismissing this feeling, McLean tells his butler they'll be going to town now. Could this disturbance have something to do with Lucien? An even more posing question, is this McLean dude a friend or a foe? Not long after, Lucien lands on his feet and is glad to have arrived faster than originally expected. Both Lucien and Ron have finally arrived in the lively town of Dark. Lucien gets himself busy with all the errands he has to run. First, he needs to buy the flowers Anna wanted, then his dad asked him to get something too. Lucien also goes to get Mr. Forson some kelp. Now that all the shopping's out of the way, the only thing left on Lucien's list is paper, a pen, and some ink. Although Lucien knows a general store would have the things he needs to buy, finding one in a sea of people is going to be a pain. So, Lucien decides to find someone to ask. Suddenly, Ron spots something and flies towards that direction. With Lucien following him, Ron stops in front of a bearded old man who thinks Ron is asking for food. Lucien immediately apologizes for Ron's behavior, but the old man doesn't mind petting Ron at all. He also thinks the fairy is a friendly pet dog too. Looking at the old man, Lucien feels like he's a nice person and wonders if it's okay to ask him about the materials he needs to buy. Telling the old man it's his first time in this town, Lucien asks if the old man knows a place where he can buy paper, a pen, and ink. The old man smiles at the young sage, calling this a lucky happenstance. This old man actually owns the only shop in Dark that sells paper. He then takes Lucien inside his shop and rummages for the materials the young sage needs. The old man then shows Lucien the pen and ink he has in store. Crossing his arms, the store owner asks Lucien if he has the money for the paper he needs. Altogether, it's gonna cost Lucien a hefty 120,000 rin. Putting the bag of money on the table, Lucien tells the old man the money he has should be enough for the paper. After counting the money, the old man confirms it's exactly 120,000 rin. The old man also apologizes to Lucien for doubting him. It's not because he sees Lucien as a kid or something. Many have tried to haggle or pay later. Paper is expensive in this era, so it's only natural for the shop owner to be cautious. The shop owner then hands Lucien 30 sheets of paper, which is all the stock he has of it. The shop doesn't really keep a lot of them on hand in case it gets stolen. The moment Lucien has his hands on the paper, the young sage gleams in happiness. Even Ron is excited. Lucien is still a bit confused as to why the people treat paper like it's a jewel. The young sage still doesn't know why paper is so valuable in this era. What exactly happened in those centuries he was gone? Anyways, although he's excited for the paper, Lucien realizes it's still not enough to make a grimoire. His thoughts are then interrupted by the opening of the shop's door. The butler from earlier then enters. Then Lord McLean follows suit. The old man enthusiastically greets Lord McLean to his humble shop. Lord McLean is here for the same reason as Lucien, to buy all the paper in the shop. Unfortunately for him, it's all been taken. Thankfully enough, Lord McLean hasn't taken notice on Lucien's presence. The shop owner immediately crouches down to quietly tell Lucien to leave the premises before they see him. After that, the shop owner goes back to entertaining Lord McLean, telling him how honored he is that the Lord himself came all the way to town just to buy his paper. Upon realizing he got all the paper from the shop, Lucien plans on leaving before he complicates the situation. He then goes to Ron, telling the fairy they'll leave at once. But as they set out to leave, Lucien hears the shop owner talk about Lord McLean's studies on magic. This halts Lucien in place, especially hearing Lord McLean say paper is the most convenient and versatile to write on. Lord McLean then further shares that studying magic is actually a noble's pastime, so here he thought he'll just further his studies on magic. Lord McLean even invited a former court mage to the Deladroa estate to be his private tutor. Talk about being rich. The mention of the former court mage now has Lucien's ears tingling with curiosity. Since being reincarnated, he hasn't seen anyone else with magic. He wants to see with his own eyes just how much today's magic has advanced, especially that it said only nobles could use it. Lucien's curiosity for magic is one thing he can't seem to control. So, when Lord McLean finds out there's no more paper to be sold, Lucien raises his hand and reveals he's the one who bought it. This shocks the shop owner, who thought Lucien had already left. The young sage does apologize, saying there was something that piqued his interest. Lord McLean wastes no time and asks Lucien to sell the paper to him, double the price. Of course, the lord won't ask for Lucien to hand it over since he is a lord and the house of Deladroa would be put to shame. Lucien refuses the lord's offer, saying he needs the paper too. He won't sell it no matter the price the lord offers. The shop owner then intervenes. This is a noble after all. Lucien then reveals what he wants isn't money but to see Lord McLean's magic. The shop owner is surprised to see Lucien more excited than he was before with the paper too. Laughing, Lord McLean agrees to Lucien's request. He even quotes the court mage who once said, "In the Aigle region, there is a McLean." Venturing outside, a crowd has gathered to see Lord McLean show off his magic. For some people, this will be the first time they'll be seeing magic. The butler approaches Lord McLean first, telling the lord to take it easy since his opponent is only a child. The lord brazenly says he's only here to surprise Lucien a bit. Yeah, good luck with that. In his mind, Lucien is very excited as well. He's finally going to see someone else's magic. Bowing down, Lucien shows Lord McLean his respect for the lord. Enjoying the young sage's attention, Lord McLean sulks this in and harnesses his magic power. Light glows underneath Lord McLean as he calls upon the spirit of the wind. This causes Ron to hiss, its eyes full of anger. When Lord McLean finally releases the wind magic he called upon, a gentle breeze touches Lucien's entirety. While everyone praises the lord for such cool magic, Lucien's once excited face bears no emotion now. A laughing McLean sees Lucien's expression as a sign of amazement, like too speechless to say anything, kind of amazed. He then rests an arm on Ron, who's sitting atop Lucien's head. The lord believes Lucien just witnessed the boundless magic of a McLean firsthand, and this will be etched on the young sage's memory for a lifetime. What Lord McLean doesn't know is that inside Lucien's head, he's having a frustrated conversation with his inner thoughts. I mean, Lucien #1 is really disappointed with what he just witnessed. What was that exactly? That was what Lord McLean called wind. That was merely a gentle breeze. Lucina #2 was also looking forward to seeing how Noble's magic had advanced, but that chant and magic said otherwise. Crossing his arms, Lucien #3 can't believe Lord McLean used spirit magic. The utter disappointment is oozing from Lucien. Spirit magic is a type of magic where you use chants and magic circles to call upon spirits and borrow their power as the price to activate it. In Lucien's previous life, he had doubts about spirit magic. Is it truly necessary to use spirits in order for humans to use magic? Everyone just assumes that's how it worked, but is it really true? Looking at his hands, Lucien had believed humans can harness magic on their own without needing to call upon the spirits. He would know because he did it himself. Concentrating on his hands, Lucien was able to make fire without calling the spirits. This solidified his theory. Humans can really use magic without spirits. Lucien had proved the spirit unnecessity theory. This new discovery did receive backlash and doubts, but there were those who were interested. But before Lucien could spread this new magical discovery, he lost his life to an incurable disease. Lucien really thought someone else would have carried out his research and made spirit magic obsolete. To think it's been 500 years too. The young sage seems to be at a loss with how magic has regressed. It's true that there were a lot of people fixated with spirits and chants. Was it all just dismissed and forgotten as ramblings of a stubborn, eccentric, shut-in sage? Lucien snaps back to reality when he hears Lord McLean laughing and asking him if the sight of the Lord's magic had made him wet himself. He even asked the crowd to give Lucien a fresh pair of underwear. This mockery doesn't sit well with Lucien, who's now adamant on showing Lord McLean the kind of magic that requires no spirits and chants. Lifting his hand, Lucien summons wind magic without even uttering a single word. The pile of wooden boxes behind Lord McLean stumbled as Lucien continues to grow his magic. Not long after, the wind grew bigger and harsher, surprising both Lord McLean and his butler. Soon the pressure of the wind is beyond their control that Lord McLean loses his balance. Lucien then slowly makes a fist out of his hand so the wind could slowly die down. That was the first step of wind pressure magic, wind. Lord McLean is utterly in disbelief with what he just saw and heard. Wind magic that powerful? There's no way it could be that powerful without calling upon the spirits. Because of the wind Lucien conjured, he didn't see Ron being swept away by the pressure as well. The poor fairy is profoundly terrified being in the air. Good thing Lucien is able to catch him on time. Lord McLean is still shocked from the events earlier. And as he watches Lucien coddle Ron, the Lord now questions who this young boy really is. So the Lord decides to take Lucien back to his estate. While in the carriage, both Lucien and Lord McLean talk about magic. With crossed arms, Lord McLean shares that the only magic he knows of is activated by calling upon the spirits in exchange for magical power. For someone like him who studies magic, this is common knowledge. When Lord McLean tells the young sage that his magic is completely different from he's studying, Lucien only confirms the Lord is definitely right. In Lucien's mind, he apologizes to his mom for going home late. He promised he'd go straight home after his errands after all. Guess that's not going according to plan since Lord McLean basically took him earlier, interested with the magic Lucien had shown. Lucien already knows Lord McLean had studied magic as a noble's pastime. But it's only now that the young sage realizes it's just now that Lord McLean decided to further his studies and relearn magic from scratch. Lucien can't really judge the Lord for his ambition and drive. He can't dismiss the Lord's effort and desire in learning magic as well. The butler then calls Lucien's attention, apologizing on behalf of Lord McLean's rudeness earlier. Teary-eyed, the butler shares how Lord McLean is a truly wonderful master but often gets excited like a child the moment magic is involved. This embarrasses Lord McLean, who immediately asks his butler to stop saying nonsense. Well, Lord McLean can't help it. After all, he loves seeing and using magic. That's why he was so shocked to see Lucien's magic. At the same time, his heart was soaring with excitement. To think there's a kind of magic one can use without calling the spirits or chanting spells? Lord McLean's face gleams as he expresses how much he wants to use this type of magic too. Looking at the Lord, Lucien can really tell he loves magic so much. Now Lucien asks Lord McLean about the knowledge that only nobles can use magic. When he asks as to why this is so, Lord McLean answers with one word: bloodline. Lord McLean has been taught that blood tide determine one's talent for magic. A specific bloodline is needed to use magic. This saddens Lucien. This thinking seems so arbitrary. Do these people want to keep magic exclusive to the nobility so badly? But one does not need a specific bloodline for magic. Lucien himself is proof of that. The only explanation Lord McLean could think of is that Lucien is a secret child of a noble. But this isn't possible since Lucien knows he is the only son of a normal farmer. The butler also guesses Lucien could be an incarnation of a great spirit, to which Lucien also denies. He is in fact a normal child with parents. Why is magic only inclusive to nobles when it is absolutely free for everyone? Even the people I see right now could all use magic if they just learned how. Back then, Lucien studied magic so hard he even came up with various perspectives and ways of thinking about it. He even had different approaches to it. When his studies took a sudden halt, there were people, even children, who gave him various ideas. Technology progresses further when many different people contribute their ideas rather just a select few. To think after 500 years the world has become the complete opposite of what he initially expected. In order for Lucien to pass his knowledge and help magic technology develop today, he needs to do something about this close-minded way of thinking about magic. Everyone should know that anyone can use magic if they just learn it. They finally arrive at Lord McLean's estate. The butler immediately goes to fetch the Lord's teacher while Lord McLean asks Lucien to tell the same story he did earlier. Since Lord McLean's inexperienced with regards to magic, he's not really one to pass judgment on the young sage. Lucien agrees, remembering the mention of Lord McLean's teacher who happens to be a former court mage. He then asks what kind of person the Lord's teacher is. With a smile on his face, Lord McLean shares that his teacher is a magical genius who became a court mage at the youngest age in history. Meanwhile, the butler has arrived at the teacher's room. He tells the teacher about Lord McLean's summoning. Lo and behold, the teacher they highly speak of is actually a young girl named Sorrel Melislan. Will she be able to understand Lucien's story? Or will this girl plot against our hero? While McLean and Lucien wait for Sorrel, the Lord had his people to prepare for some tea and snacks. Until his teacher arrives, McLean asks Lucien and Ron to make themselves comfortable. Both Lucien and Ron look at the sweets with twinkling eyes. What else do they expect from a noble? It's probably the first time Lucien has seen such fancy sweets in the 6 years he's been reincarnated. Upon seeing Lucien's reaction, McLean explains how he has a really sweet tooth, so there's plenty of the pastries every tea time. With McLean's go signal, Lucien and Ron take one to eat and are instantly hit by the amazingly delicious flavor. Ron is way too excited about the pastries that he dives into a full frenzied pastry-eating machine. A worried Lucien stares at Ron the whole time. Is it okay for a fairy like Ron to eat something like this at all? Lucien's attention is then diverted by a knock on the door. The butler has returned with Sorrel. Entering the room, Lucien looks at Sorrel, the girl said to be the youngest former court mage in history. Sorrel's whole demeanor screams friendly and girly all the way. She introduces herself to McLean and immediately asks the Lord about his questions about magic. McLean politely asks for Sorrel's opinion on the matter regarding Lucien, something McLean can't pass judgment on his own. Since Sorrel's been studying and using magic for a long time, plus she's a former court mage, it should be up her alley. Staring at the two, Lucien believes this girl is about 14 or 15, younger than he expected her to be. But the part he's more curious about is that she's a former court mage. This means she should know more about magic than McLean, right? There are a lot of questions swirling in Lucian's mind, especially about modern magic. Lucian can't really hear McLean and Sorrel's conversation. Judging by the looks of it, McLean is in the middle of explaining Lucian's existence to her. And now, Sorrel glimpses at Lucian with disdain before turning to McLean to tell the Lord not to believe such nonsense. Crossing her arms, Sorrel points out that magic cannot be activated without spirits. What McLean could have seen must be some kind of magic trick or fake. Hearing this has Lucian's brows furrow. What did this girl just say? McLean is a bit confused. A child wouldn't go out of his way just to do that to him, right? Sorrel's still convinced this is some kind of joke likely to curry favor with McLean since he's so fond of magic. Using a child like Lucian is the perfect way to lower McLean's guard, a common tactic among swindlers. Now McLean is in thinking mode. And while he's at that, Sorrel goes off to Lucian to scold the boy for his joke. She, yet again, points out how it's common knowledge that magic requires spirits. Sorrel is no fool when it comes to this and calls Lucian a little brat. Lucian quietly takes it all in, staring at the sarcastic Sorrel who's now seated across him. She praises the young sage for having the confidence in pulling such a scheme on McLean. According to her, she understands why a non-noble child like Lucian would admire magic. Grabbing a cookie, Sorrel tells Lucian to apologize properly and she'll consider showing him some real magic. Lucian still takes this all in and watches Sorrel take a big bite of the cookie, only to be dismayed with how hard it is. Not just dry or overbaked kind of hard, it's literally as hard as a rock. Now Lucian is in the mood to speak and tells Sorrel that a former court mage like her isn't anything special. Grabbing a cookie, Lucian smilingly points out how Sorrel was naive enough to eat a cookie without seeing through a hardening spell. Sorrel then inspects the cookie up close, a bit confused with what Lucian had said. This makes a perfect opportunity for Lucian to joke about Sorrel not knowing a hardening spell, something that's supposed to be a basic earth element spell. That actually got to Sorrel a bit, since she does know at least that much. But she never thought a hardening spell could make a cookie this hard. Still, after showing Sorrel his magic, the girl refuses to believe Lucian and calls this another one of his tricks. She pointedly accuses Lucian of swapping her cookie with another one made of stone. Sorrel gets some tea, scolding Lucian to stop with his ridiculous pranks. As soon as Sorrel has the teacup close to her mouth, it suddenly erupts in the air because of Lucian's ignite spell. Looking at her teacup, Sorrel is surprised to see it empty. The tea has completely evaporated. Before she could say anything else, Sorrel suddenly floats up in the air. She struggles to keep her skirt down while yelling for Lucian to explain what's happening. The young sage casually tells her it's just gravity magic. Because Sorrel has called his spells mere magic tricks, he figured this should be proof enough that his magic is legit. In distress, Sorrel now admits that making someone float is impossible to be a joke and that she believes Lucian now. She then pleads to be put down at once. Now in the comforts of a chair, Sorrel divulges she was too surprised to notice with the cookie and tea, but she certainly did feel the flow of magical power controlling gravy. It still doesn't make sense to Sorrel how Lucian's magic doesn't use incantations to call upon spirits or use magic circles. It's more believable if Lucian were to say it's all some kind of trick apparently. Lucian uses the gravity spell once more, causing Ron and some cookies to float. If Sorrel still doesn't believe him, Lucian is more than happy to make her float again. Maybe this time he could make her spin. Sorrel quickly negates this, saying what happened was more than enough for her to believe it's not a magic trick or a scam. When Lucian asks for her apology, Sorrel immediately tells him she's sorry. Then she thinks about the seriousness of the situation. Magic that doesn't require spirits exist? Sorrel has never heard of such a thing, not even at the Magic Academy. The Magic Academy is a school specializing in magic with branches in each region of the Gastiana Kingdom. There are 5 in total, and it seems everyone attends one. McLean himself will go there someday too. Now Lucian knows where the root of all evil is. This so-called academies are where lies about sprit magic is being spread. Lucian then expresses he wants to attend the academy as well. Both McLean and Sorrel look at each other. One of them then asks Lucian if he was really born and is raised in an ordinary village. After Lucian confirms this, Sorrel tells him it might be difficult for him to get in since only those with blood ties to the nobility are able to attend the academy. Sorrel herself has seen it happen way too often at the academy. Anyone without noble blood were judged to have no talent for magic, thus turned away at the gates. However, McLean remembers a rumor he heard. In the past, there was a girl who showed wonderful talent for magic, but that child was a daughter of a merchant. Originally, she shouldn't have had the qualifications to attend the academy, but she was allowed to do so as a special exception. Her magical talent would have been a great loss if they turned her away. The punchline is that after looking into it, the girl turned out to be a distant relative of a noble. In any case, the merchant's daughter was then given permission to attend the academy. McLean still highlights how this is all based on rumors, so he doesn't really know how credible it is. After hearing this, Lucien still thinks he has hope to attend the academy even though he's just a villager. Sorrel wouldn't mind writing him a recommendation letter as well. That is, if he apologizes for his pranks earlier. Seems like this former court mage can hold a grudge tightly. So, Lucien bows and sincerely apologizes for playing a prank on Sorrel, who's happily absorbing the attention. Of course, she forgives the boy. A smiling Lucien then thanks Sorrel, even calling her Wonnie-chan, which does wonders to her. Acting all meek won't work on Sorrel, but she does ask Lucien to call her Wonnie-chan one more time, to which he gladly obliges to. Sipping his tea, McLean is happy to see these two getting along rather well. Not long after, his eyes turn serious, like he's remembering something he wanted to ask Lucien earlier. Aside from the plan on attending academy, McLean asks the young sage to consider becoming the exclusive mage of House Deladea. While Lucien is confused with what this meant, Sorrel is very much surprised and excited for him. McLean then explains to Lucien that being an exclusive mage is similar to a role of his advisor. The Lord wants to get Lucien's opinion on a magical standpoint, just like becoming a court mage for a noble family. Sorrel then chimes in, telling Lucien that becoming an exclusive mage is a great honor. It's also completely different from being hired as a private tutor like Sorrel. It's also proudly ranked #1 for dream jobs at the academy. McLean warmly smiles, his eyes twinkling as he expresses his love for magic. He loves everything about it, watching it, using it, studying it. He breathes everything and anything related to magic. He then recalls the happy memories he has at the academy. The things McLean has learned there were something he always used to show off to his late mother. However, McLean's mom was a commoner. McLean's father fell in love at first sight with her and pushed through everyone's opposition to marry her. There was a time when McLean was still a kid. He had gone home from the academy and he was rushing towards his mother to tell her about their lesson about chants. His mother was very proud of McLean, who told her about a simple spell you can chant in order to use magic. McLean was so excited to let his mom use it too. Unfortunately, McLean's mom gently tells him she couldn't. McLean recalls the exact words coming out of her mouth that day. She told him she didn't have a single drop of noble blood in her, thus preventing her from using or learning magic. With despondent eyes, McLean shares how he'll always remember her words and the sad look on her face as she said them. A few years later, McLean's mom passed away, and although he can't bring back her smile, McLean hopes that Lucien is right, that one can truly use magic without blood ties or incantations. Lucien is very much confident to confirm this. He is, after all, a son of a farmer and not a noble. He doesn't even use incantations to use magic for Pete's sake. If everyone learns the right knowledge, anyone will be able to use magic, and people with all sorts of ideas will emerge. The magical techniques that are said to be common knowledge will soon be a thing of the past, and a new type of magic will be born. One that will surely make this world a richer place to live in. This is the world Lucien's past self dreamt of, and it's the world his current self is aiming for. Lucien then expresses this dream of his, to help create that kind of world. But first, he needs to enroll into the academy and learn everything he can about spirit magic. This has McLean smiling like a proud brother while Sorrel is quietly teary-eyed as she's moved with Lucien's determination. The young sage is somehow worried with Sorrel's reaction, asking if the hardened cookie from earlier had caused her tooth to ache. As she wipes her tears, Sorrel tells Lucien she's just so moved upon hearing Lucien and McLean's conversation. So she stands up and puts her hands on Lucien's shoulders to tell the young sage she'll take responsibility in writing him a recommendation to the academy. Although she doesn't really know how effective that might be, Sorrel will still risk it. McLean thinks it'll do wonders though. She is a former court mage after all. Her recommendation letter is sure to help Lucien. Now that that's all discussed, Lucien best be going so he could explain everything to his parents. It's gotten pretty late too and they must be worried sick. The butler then asks Lucien his address so they could take him home by carriage. But at the mention of Neltelem village, everyone is surprised. Lucien's home is apparently a long ride even by carriage. Still, they'll take him home. McLean will even go with them so he could properly apologize to Lucien's parents, while Sorrel will speed up the carriage using wind magic. Lucien then interrupts their conversation to tell them they don't need to trouble themselves because he'll go home on his own. Now everyone's speechless. They walk Lucien outside and see him off. They're all staring at him in wonder as he flies up the sky. The moment he stepped out of the estate, Lucien had used his float magic and was gone with a whoosh. Pretty snazzy compared to a carriage, huh? What's even more exciting about this whole thing is that knowledge about magic is about to change. McLean can't wait to see that happen. He must prepare for Lucien's transfer to academy too. But before that, the butler reminds him of the many responsibilities he needs to face. Sorrel is staring up in the sky with a warm smile. Then she closes her eyes and clasps her hands to conjure wind magic. As she concentrates on it, McLean asks her what she was saying and doing, to which she blushingly denies. On the way home, Ron has fallen asleep and is even sleep-talking. While Ron snuggles up to Lucien's chest, the young sage thinks about the Magic Academy. In his previous era, nobles hired mages to learn magic individually. But in today's era, there's a convenient educational institution called an academy. It's highly likely to be the root of all evil, spreading old-fashioned spirit magic. In Lucien's mind, they're pure evil. Thinking about it, if Lucien can really enter the academy, he'll first have to take a good look at the classes they teach. Still, Lucien's very much curious with what kind of place an academy is. After all, it's been 500 years into the future. Meanwhile, at the academy, a short-haired girl is seated on a bench while writing something on her notebook. Suddenly, a boy approached her to tell her they need to head home now. Will these people become friends with Lucien soon? A few days after they've returned from McLean's estate, Lucien notices Ron's current physical appearance. The fairy seems to have gotten bigger or something. Lucien initially thought it was just Ron's fur getting fluffier, but he's been feeling heavy on his shoulder lately. Using his appraisal magic, Lucien finds out that Ron has significantly deviated from a healthy weight. Now Ron has to get some exercise in to lose some weight. Lucien then blames all the sweets Ron had at McLean's estate. With Lucien's persistence, Ron is subjected to a series of exercise, sit-ups, push-ups, running. After that, Lucien's pretty happy with the sweat they've worked up. But now, Ron seems to be a lot bigger than before they exercised, and heavier too. Using appraisal magic once more, Lucien finds out Ron's fats have turned into muscle. So everything now is just pure muscle. If it's muscle, Lucien believes it to be okay compared to being fat. Once they stopped exercising, Ron gradually returned to his original form. Oh, what an adventure it has been. Of course, we can't wait for the next one. The day of going to the academy has finally arrived, but, it's not going as planned. Right now, Lucien is surrounded by 3 teenage girls who are smitten by his cuteness. They're all giving Lucien a lot of attention, something that's never happened in his past life. Thinking Lucien might be a lost child, the girls ask him where he came from and for his parents' names. Lucien then speaks up, telling them he's not a lost child, and introduces himself as Lucien Gildalba, and he's here to transfer in at the Aigle Royal Magic Academy. Let's go back to a few days ago, shall we? After returning home from McLean's mansion, Lucien told his parents everything. He told them he wanted to go to the academy and learn more about magic, and that even if he couldn't get in, McLean has offered to hire him as the Lord's personal mage. He then showed his parents the handwritten letter McLean had addressed to them as proof. Although they were very surprised, the sight and feel of the paper letter was even more surprising to them. It's totally different from the wooden slates they've always used. Telling them about the letter's contents, Lucien reveals to his parents that McLean will provide his support for his tuition and fees. He really wants to go to the academy. Sammy is very proud of how amazing his son is and gives his sign of approval, but Sophia expresses her concerns about it. She doesn't really like the idea of her 6-year-old son going to a big academy. She also worries that Lucien will get bullied by the students there. It's a place only for nobles, and Lucien isn't one. Lucien calls his mom to try and explain it to her, but Sophia beats him to it. Although she's against it, she can't really do anything about it because her son has already made up his mind. Sophia knows her son all too well. Once Lucien has set his mind on something, he's not one to give up easily. He is their child after all. Sammy then approaches his wife, warmly smiling at Sophia as he tells her they'll support and believe in Lucien's dream. A few days later, the whole family was invited to McLean's mansion, where they received a detailed explanation about transferring into the academy. It's also Sammy and Sophia's first time riding a carriage, so they're a bit dizzy with the trip. During their talk, McLean explains to them that Lucien's magical talent is immensely great. The history of magic might just change with his birth. That's how important Lucien is right now. McLean then goes on to tell them that the Magic Academy only accepts those related to nobility, and the tuition is set at a price to match. However, the House of Delalore will give their support on it. Sammy then asks McLean if he could give them some time to think about the financial support the Lord has offered. In Lucien's mind, he doesn't know why his dad would say that when it's completely impossible to pay the tuition with a farmer's income. Both Sammy and Sophia then bow down to McLean, asking the Lord to take care of their only son. Then, McLean was supposed to accompany Lucien to handle the transfer process, but something came up. McLean had to apologize incessantly, and asked Lucien to go to the academy on his own. And that's why he's here on his own, facing these 3 teenagers. Lucien then thinks about his family. They saw him off warmly. He's basically carrying their hopes on his shoulders. He can't just get kicked out for being a lost child. Before the girls could find one of the guards, Lucien raises his hand and summons water using his magic. The girls look up in the sky, astounded by the magic spell. With this, Lucien thinks the girls should be able to understand that he's not a lost child at all. Maybe they'll finally see that he's here to learn magic like them. The girls are pretty amazed with Lucien's magic. He did use water without any water nearby, and was able to cast it just by saying the spell's name. Although the girls are amazed, they can't really hide the fact that they got soaked with the water. This has Lucien thinking, It was never his intention to leave these girls soaking wet, so without further notice, he lifts his hand again to summon wind. In an instant, the girls are completely dry. To think Lucien can use his two elements at once. Now the girls think this young boy could be some kind of prodigy, to which Lucien calls an exaggeration. But the girls believe he is, since he just used magic from two different elements. That's a pretty big deal because not everyone can do that. Normally, people can only use one element. Hearing this, Lucien's ears begin to tingle with anger. Who ingrained such falsehood into everyone? There might be affinities and weaknesses, but there's no way there's a limit to the elements one can use. Now Lucien overthinks everything. He can't just leave this magic academy to its own devices. He needs to enroll quickly and see what else this institution is teaching. The short-haired girl then reminds Lucien not to suddenly use magic on other people. She already understands Lucien's here to study magic, but it's kinda inappropriate to bombard someone with water. Seeing that it does make sense, Lucien bows down to apologize, to which the girls call him a good boy for doing so. Later on, the short-haired girl volunteers to take Lucien to the teacher's office and also introduces herself as Irina. The other two girls had other things to do, so they left Irina with Lucien. Because the walk to the teacher's office is a bit of a walk, Irina hands Lucien some apple juice. She also has orange juice too, just in case Lucien gets thirsty on the way there. The young sage tries turning it down, but he eventually takes the apple juice. Lucien says he doesn't have a choice since his tongue has a child's palate. After a few sips, Lucien actually likes the moderate sweetness and faint acidity this apple juice offers. The two soon arrives at Teacher Gertz's office. Irina excitingly shares to him about bringing the amazing boy who wants to transfer in. Seeing Irina's excitement, Teacher Gertz's guesses the boy must be recommendation they received from the House of Della Delore. A child is not what Teacher Gertz expected. Lucien then introduces himself and presents the money for his tuition fee. When Teacher Gertz asks about Sammy's noble rank, Lucien honestly answers him that his father doesn't have one. This doesn't really surprise Teacher Gertz since this has been common these days. Apparently, for the entrance requirement of being related to a noble, a distant relation is fine. Therefore, Lucien's father doesn't need to be a noble himself. That's not really what Lucien meant with his answer earlier, but luck may be on his side as Teacher Gertz clearly misunderstood his answer. Teacher Gertz then asks Lucien to fill out a piece of paper that includes name, age, birthplace, parents' lineage, and any experience learning magic. The problem now is Lucien doesn't know his parents' lineage. In the countryside, it's common for many people in the village to be old acquaintances. Teacher Gertz notices Lucien has stopped writing and is now deep in thought. When he asks about it, Lucien honestly reveals how he doesn't know his parents' lineage. Teacher Gertz raises his eyebrow, telling Lucien he must know his own origin if he's really a noble. That's when it all clicked in the teacher's head. Before he could even scold Lucien, Irina swoops in to defend the young sage. She tells the teacher about Lucien's talent in using two types of elemental magic, to which surprises Teacher Gertz. Irina goes on to swear she saw it with her own two eyes, how Lucien used both water and wind magic before them. Now, Teacher Gertz can't say anything at all. What Irina's saying is near impossible, but why would she lie for a commoner, right? Lucien then raises his hand to intervene in their conversation to hand the letter of recommendation Sorrel had written for him. Teacher Gertz is taken aback. Could Lucien mean Sorrel, the youngest court mage in history? Judging by Gertz's reaction, Lucien could really tell the Sorrel's recommendation letter is top-notch. However, Sorrel has already quit her position as a court mage. Gertz doesn't seem to know this and that Sorrel has been hired as a private tutor by McLean now. Upon reading the letter, Gertz authenticates Sorrel's letter as legit. Since Gertz is in charge of the examination for transferees and knee admissions, he tells Lucien about a little test he needs to do at the training grounds. Once at the training grounds, Gertz then calls upon the spirits so he can make a magic barrier surrounding the field. He praises Lucien for spotting the barrier by just looking. Then he explains that the academy has the same kind of magic around it. It's an excellent piece of work that one can't enter or exit without special keycard. Speaking of which, Gertz is confused as to how Lucien was able to get inside the academy without the special keycard. Was it Irina that opened the door for the boy? Lucien casually tells the teacher that he managed to dispel it. Gertz is that astounded that he managed to drop Lucien's money bag. Apologizing, Gertz crouches down to pick up the bag's contents. Suddenly, Gertz's smile fades as he stares at the dirty coins on the ground. He picks one up, appalled to see the coins, and every piece of it is filthy. Bowing down, Lucien apologizes for it and explains this is the money everyone at his village chipped in for his tuition fee. 2 weeks ago, after Sammy and Sophia visited McLean's mansion, Lucien was cleaning up one of the tools when his dad called him over. They wanted to give Lucien something. Lo and behold, it was a bag of money. It's for Lucien's tuition fees and for his living expenses. Sammy has already calculated the entire lot. Because Lucien sold his paper to McLean, the young boy will have roughly around 3 million rin, including the bag of money. Lucien did sell his paper since attending the academy will have him preoccupied and he won't have time to make magic books anymore. But it's still impossible to reach 3 million. So where did the money come from? Looking at the coins, it's all rusty and covered in mud. It's totally different from what he received from McLean. Lucien could only think of one more answer to his question. This is from everyone in the village. They did help him buy his paper before. Seeing Lucien's soft expression, he then tells his son that he is the hope for people like them who can't use magic. Although McLean is a good lord, there are other nobles who think of them as commoners who can't use magic as nothing but failures. There have been people from their village who have been scorned and even kicked around by relatives of nobles. So when Sammy told everyone that Lucien, his son, is going to attend the academy to learn magic, everyone was overjoyed and happily gave the family financial support. Lucien is their hope after all. Holding this bag of money carries a lot of weight. Lucien isn't a grand person. He was only reincarnated because of his past regrets, and that's the only reason why he's alive now. While Lucien sits there with his own thoughts, Sammy continues to tell his son that they plan to thank McLean and decline his offer of financial aid for Lucien's tuition. Sammy and Sophia wanted to handle this within the village. They've discussed this with everyone as well, and they all agreed with this decision. If plans didn't work out and they couldn't raise the money, Sammy and Sophia were planning to ask for McLean's help. It's a good thing everything worked out just as planned. Thanking his parents, Lucien warmly smiles. This money in his hands is filled with everyone's wish for Lucien to change the world. Going back to his present conversation with Gertz, Lucien tells the teacher that everyone in the village pitched in a little bit of money so he could attend the Magic Academy. The word village has Gertz clenching his fists. Upon Lucien's confirmation that he is indeed from a small village, Gertz's whole demeanor changes into one of disgust. Gertz then calls Lucien a filthy peasant brat. He already doubted Lucien's so-called noble lineage. Well, here comes Gertz's true colors. Not only is this teacher mocking Lucien now, he's also doubting the recommendation he received from the House of Deladalore. And boy is he glad he found out before the test. Gertz doesn't want to allow a mere peasant to enroll and cast doubt on the dignity of the academy. This isn't something new to Lucien. There are nobles like Gertz in his past life, exclusionary purists who are extremely averse to the thinning of their bloodline. They look down on and discriminate those who aren't pure blood. Lucien, who's still crouching down, doesn't mind being insulted. What's triggering him is when Gertz used the term filthy peasants. Gertz is insulting now only his parents, but the villagers as well. This schmuck doesn't know a thing or two about how hard they struggle every day, yet he has the audacity to mock them? A smug look splays on Gertz's face, raising his left leg towards the crouched Lucien. Then he asks the boy to lick his shoes clean, and he might consider whether or not to give Lucien the test. He also looks down on Lucien, reminding the boy to know his place and calls him a peasant brat. Lucien stares at Gertz, clearly insulted by the teacher's words. But the teacher isn't phases at all. Even threatening Lucien, he'll fail him. All it takes is for Gertz to say the word fail, and Lucien won't be able to attend the academy. Taking a step forward, Gertz approaches the money on the ground and kicks it away. To him, Lucien can't learn magic with such filthy magic. This is the last straw of Lucien's patience. The young sage slowly stands up to answer back. Gertz has no right to call his parents and the villagers' hard-earned money filthy. It's true that some of the coins are rusty or stained with dirt, but it's what everyone gave Lucien. That means a lot to the young sage, since not many of the villagers' families are far from wealthy. Gertz laughs this off. Whether filthy money is on the ground or in a bag, there's no difference. It's still filthy. In the past, I only wanted to spread magical theory and techniques for Lucien's sake, but that's not true anymore. Now it's for Lucien's parents and the villagers who believe in him, for the people who can't use magic, for all the people throughout the world who are convinced that they can't. Resolute, Lucien screams how he is here right now to kill the false ideas of people like Gertz. Without a second thought, Lucien casts Dust Devil magic. Godspeed. Gertz laughingly tells Lucien to stop barking at the wrong tree since the young boy is just a mere peasant. Gertz doesn't even see Lucien's blitz move. The young sage has activated partial hardening, which hardens both his arms and legs to the strength of a diamond. Then he activated impact nullification, which nullifies the recoil from blows. And the bonus, Lucien activates enchantment fixation so Gertz will writhe in pain. The teacher didn't even see Lucien move and yells not to underestimate him. Gertz immediately calls upon the spirit to conjure the spell Flame Shot. A loud explosion covers the whole area with dust. When the field clears out, Gertz is confident he has defeated Lucien. He even mocks the boy, as spirit calling magic is what Gertz calls real magic, which one can keenly see and feel the difference in class between a noble and a peasant. Adjusting his glasses, Gertz mocks Lucien for whatever kind of parlor trick he was planning on using too. However, Gertz is shocked to see that Lucien is still standing. Lucien then expresses his disappointment at the thought that Gertz calls himself a teacher. Lucien only took the teacher's hit to gauge how powerful he would be, but is utterly disappointed by how weak it is. And to think Gertz just called it real magic. With the water shield protecting Lucien, Gertz is nerve-wracked. How can a kid use magic without a magic circle or incantation? After explaining to Gertz it's just part of the beginner magic for water, Lucien then announces it's his turn to retaliate. Before Gertz could call upon the spirits again, Lucien quickly moves to use a non-elemental magic called Triple Fang. With this, Lucien is able to punch Gertz right on the chest. Lucien then remembers the time when Sammy asked him what he wants to do at the Magic Academy. Lucien's goal has never changed, telling his dad that he wants to attend the academy, learn the current common knowledge, and shatter the magic that everyone takes for granted. With one final blow to Gertz's face, Lucien is able to defeat the teacher within seconds. Now this is what you call real magic. After Lucien and Gertz's battle, Irina helps the young sage pick up all the scattered coins on the ground. With the last coin found, Irin approaches Lucien to give it to him. Finally, all the scattered coins are now complete. Bowing down, Lucien sincerely thanks her for helping him, to which Irina says it's no big deal at all. Her smile fades a bit, telling Lucien she should be the one who should be apologizing. Irina has been feeling guilty for just standing there and watch as Gertz threw insulting words at Lucien earlier. When Irina apologizes, Lucien assures her not to worry since he believes what she did was the right course of action in that situation. He didn't want Irina to get involved in his mess after all. Suddenly, they hear a groan from Gertz, who is now awake and injured. When Lucien asks him if he's awake now, Gertz is frightened to the core. He flinches, asking Lucien of his true identity and what he did to Gertz. Sarcastic, Lucien answers him that he is Gertz's favorite commoner kid and he only used magic. Now Gertz is angry and calls Lucien a liar. He doesn't believe Lucien used magic when he didn't even chant nor call out to the spirits. Accusing Lucien of trickery, Gertz shouts his final decision on the test. He has failed Lucien as he deems Lucien's background in magic has none. Looking at Gertz, Lucien can't believe this man hates commoners this much. Is it that, or that he hates the fact that he got beaten up by a kid? Come to think about it, it was the same for Sorrel. With the current standard of magic, Lucien's can't be measured easily. But he's not sure Gertz would understand the same explanation though. Irina then intervenes to defend Lucien. Just because the young boy didn't call out spirits doesn't mean Lucien has no background in magic. That's just unfair. However, Gertz has already made up his mind. He's the one in charge of the transferee examination and his decision is final already. Gertz also threatens to punish Irina if she speaks back again. Wow, what a sour loser this man is. Suddenly they hear an old man's voice demanding they stop their argument. It's none other than Headmaster Khan. Lucien, who's observing the headmaster, can already tell that the old man is skilled in the way he shifts his weight and gaze. Lucien believes the headmaster must have been something similar to a martial artist in his younger days. Both Gertz and Irina are now standing formally in front of Headmaster Khan. When asked why he was there, the old man says he had heard of the recommendation from the house of Count de la Delore and wanted to see how strong this person is. The headmaster lets out a chuckle as he shares he watched the match earlier. Gertz has become quite the man in the headmaster's eyes. Upon hearing this, Gertz now believes Headmaster Khan should understand his final decision. In Gertz's defense, Lucien didn't even use magic. To make matters worse, he also tells Headmaster Khan how Lucien doesn't plan on paying the tuition fees. Lucien quickly defends himself, telling the headmaster that he can in fact use magic. As for the money, he has prepared for it beforehand, so Gertz's accusation is impossible. Headmaster Khan thinks about it for a while. Is it not magic just because there wasn't spirit calling? Chuckling once more, Headmaster Khan doesn't really see anything wrong with the magic Lucien used. Gertz is stunned and speechless. Headmaster Khan further details out how Gertz, who is considered to be one of the 30 chosen mages of the Gastiana kingdom, got beaten by a child in just a few minutes, as Headmaster Khan would call it, just like magic. That alone should be enough to be considered as talent. However, Gertz still lashes out because he believes the academy shouldn't be taking in and training unrefined soldiers. He then states the academy's goal has always been to teach magic to those from a good family background and further hone their talent. At the end of his statement, Gertz interjects how Lucien isn't a noble but a mere commoner, to which has Headmaster Khan laughing loudly. Gertz has no right to call Lucien names when he was just defeated by what he calls a mere commoner, who has no noble blood running through his veins. Gertz grits his teeth and tries to excuse his loss to being caught off guard by Lucien. Still, Headmaster Khan calls this a great tactic to defeat an opponent. Again, Gertz uses the excuse of Lucien not using any chants or calling the spirits. This further frustrates Headmaster Khan, who yells at Gertz to just shut up and accept his defeat. In Lucien's mind, he can't wrap his head around the idea that Gertz just said he was caught off guard. He wasn't even going full throttle on the teacher. If Gertz is one of the 30 selected mages chosen by the kingdom at that level of ability, then Lucien can safely assume the proficiency of the mages or the magic technology of this kingdom is on the weaker side. After dealing with Gertz, Headmaster Khan calls Lucien's attention to tell the boy he definitely has the ability based on his skills during the exam. Headmaster Khan then takes back the fail stamp Gertz had initially given Lucien. Lucien then reveals he wouldn't mind being turned away by this academy. He would just simply go to another academy and try again. This has Headmaster Khan laughing once more. To think they would have missed out on a child prodigy. Crouching down, Headmaster Khan already knows the current sitch based on what Gertz had told him, especially the part where Lucien had collected the money from his village for the admission fee. When asked what he plans to do in this academy, Lucien honestly tells Headmaster Khan that he wants to prove that someone like him, a mere commoner, can use magic as well, and he wants to make a world where magic won't be used for discriminating those who aren't nobles. A smiling Headmaster Khan is beyond impressed by Lucien's answer, citing how this is a good enough answer for him. He then gives his stamp of approval in letting Lucien attend the academy from tomorrow onwards. Lucien is very much thankful for the headmaster's decision. Even Irina is happy for the young boy that she ends up giving him a hug. Pretty awkward for Lucien too. While watching the kids, Gertz quietly whispers to Headmaster Khan if this is really okay. Although the headmaster jabs on the teacher for being a sour loser, he also informs Gertz that he has a plan. Whatever this plan might be sounds a bit fishy. Lucien and Headmaster Khan then goes to the latter's office to process the boy's transferee files so he could formally attend Eagle Magic Academy. There, Headmaster Khan has accepted Lucien's recommendation letter and tuition fees. With this, Lucien is officially a student of Eagle Magic Academy from tomorrow onwards. Hooray! Headmaster Khan also discusses about certain classes. The academy usually ranks students by order and put them in classes 1 to 3. Since it's hard to recognize and gauge Lucien's magic, the headmaster has decided to place Lucien in Year 1 Class 3. As Lucien receives an envelope with the academy's official seal, he realizes that although the headmaster has acknowledged his transfer and talent, the academy still refuses to recognize his magical ability. Anyways, the envelope is a key that unlocks some of the magic barriers that are placed all over the academy. It also contains Lucien's school ID, so Headmaster Khan reminds Lucien not to lose it. Lucien's eyes begin twinkling with amazement. He is currently holding a product made with the magic technology of this era. What mechanism does this have so it could unlock magical barriers? Lucien just wants to go home and dissect it and see how it's made. Now that Headmaster Khan is done explaining the important stuff before Lucien's transfer, all there's left to do is pick up the uniforms on the first floor. I don't think Lucien's interested on that too. He's still very much invested on the envelope he just received. Wanting to look inside, Lucien uses appraisal magic. This is also the first time Lucien will look into this era's magic circle and is curious if they use spirit magic as well. However, Lucien's smile fades and confusion floods his mind. He never really noticed it earlier when he was looking at it afar, but the envelope uses magic slightly different from the spirit magic that was used 500 years ago. He delves deeper into it and can't really point a finger to it. It really is different from what Lucien knows as spirit magic, and this one in his hand seems to be calling out to something else. All of a sudden, Lucien snaps back to reality when he hears the bell ring. What's even more confusing is that Lucien doesn't remember coming out of the academy at all. Although that was rather suspicious, Lucien blames this on his bad habit of being too absorbed in anything related to magic. He does this so often that he also forgets everything else in his surroundings. He does have a faint memory of departing with the headmaster and Gertz though. Looking at the envelope again, Lucien can't seem to extract any more information from the keycard's magic circle. Still, the question lingers. Are the spirits from this era different from those Lucien knows? There isn't really anything that could answer his question here, so Lucien decides to go home, especially with Ron waiting for him. Lucien soon arrives at the inn he's staying at, and is instantly greeted by a teary-eyed Ron. Lucien goes on to cuddle his fairy friend who obviously missed the young sage. Thompson Garrick also comes to greet Lucien hello. He runs the inn in the town of Danpel, where Eagle Academy is also located. Thompson immediately asks Lucien about the results, to which the young boy reveals his passing marks. Chuckling happily, Thompson is happy to hear Lucien's results. He also reveals how McLean has been worried sick about Lucien, even mumbling about Lucien being a once-in-a-lifetime genius who'll change magic. After patting Lucien's head, Thompson leads the young boy towards his new room. Apparently, Thompson and McLean are old acquaintances, so Lucien was allowed to live at the inn while he attended the academy that McLean had suggested. Both Thompson and Lucien climb up the wooden ladder that leads to the young boy's room. After opening the window, Thompson apologizes to Lucien for giving him this small room. This is usually a room Thompson uses for storage. Lucien doesn't mind at all and thanks Thompson for it. Even it's just an attic, to be given the privilege to sleep here is more than enough for Lucien. This is also Lucien's first time to have a room to himself since he got reincarnated. Plopping himself on the bed, Lucien happily thinks about his past. Before, having a personal room was pretty normal, but now, it's been impossible to have one in the Gildorf household. Lucien finally feels the tiredness from today's errands and begins dozing off. While he takes his nap, Ron smilingly watches over him. Soon enough, Lucien is in his abysmal consciousness, floating as he wonders where he is right now. Suddenly, Ron appears in front of him and conveys that he wants to tell the boy something. Tears begin to fall off Ron's cute eyes as he expresses how lonely he felt while Lucien was at school. He then makes Lucien vow to never leave Ron ever again. Lucien has no other choice but to promise his fairy friend. The next morning, Lucien puts on his new uniform. In Eagle Magic Academy, there's the ready-made uniforms and an order-made product from a specific store. Of course, Lucien decided to get the ready-made one. He can't really remember it, but he apparently went to pick it up after his talk with the headmaster. Lucien soon arrived at school with Ron and is immediately greeted by a cheery Irina. She takes notice on Ron latched on Lucien's shoulder. Lucien grabs Ron and introduces him to Irina, who fluffs the little fairy up. Lucien then explains he didn't intend to bring Ron to school, but the poor fairy didn't want to let go of him. However, according to Irina, bringing pets is not allowed in the academy, so she suggests Lucien should hide Ron in his bag. Thank heavens Ron is mostly just fluffy fur and ended up fitting inside Lucien's bag. After that, Irina volunteers to guide Lucien to his classroom. She then asks Lucien if he received his card key, to which he confirms. Their conversation is suddenly cut short when someone calls Lucien a brat. Turning around, Lucien sees 3 teenage boys. The one in the middle sarcastically tells Lucien to shoo away since this academy isn't a nursery, and there's no magic to teach a poor brat like Lucien. Wow, rude much? Maybe this kid wants a taste of what happened to Getz too. This older boy mocks Lucien for attending the prestigious academy. To him, just because nobles attend the school doesn't mean everyone is well-mannered. He even calls Lucien a brat who can't use magic properly and urges him to go home. Lucien just stares blankly at the boy. If we have to compare, these teenagers are the brats here. Not long, Lucien bites back, telling the boy he already has the key as proof of going through the process. So why should he go home? Furious, the boy starts screaming at Lucien for answering back at him. This time around, Irina steps in and protects Lucien. She defends Lucien, explaining how he's already been told by the headmaster he passed. So if this brat has any more complaints, he should go directly to the headmaster. The boy then tells Irina off since it has nothing to do with her. Instead of backing down, Irina still defends Lucien by saying the young sage will be studying in the same school as them and is taking the same classes as her, making Lucien her friend. Lucien stares back and forth between the bickering teens and quickly notices Irina's trembling hands. She must be scared, but she's still facing these bullies for Lucien. These brats are going after Lucien and Irina has nothing to do with it. She can just go ahead, yet she decides to defend Lucien for some reason because they're friends? Friends, a word Lucien never had any ties with in his past life. Do friends protect one another even if it has nothing to do with them? Suddenly, the brat pushes Irina back, telling her to shut up and move. This knocks Irina to the ground, wincing in pain. The brat then points out how he's one of the contenders for the magic warrior, so he's not one they should be standing up against. Lucien, who immediately crouches to Irina, is now furious. He looks at the brat and asks if this kid is oh so arrogant to people who are weaker than him. Magic warriors sure are strong like that, huh? The brat's now annoyed at Lucien, threatening the young sage to be beaten up so Lucien could understand. With that, the brat calls upon the spirit of the earth. Irina frantically scolds the boy since magic outside of class is supposed to be prohibited. But the brat isn't keen on listening to Irina's warning and continues to summon the spirit so he could use rebuild. Watching the brat, Lucien is curious on what magic he will. Finally, the brat's rebuild is done and he's now sporting muscles all over his body, especially the arms. The brat even has the audacity to show off his muscles and asks Lucien if he's that scared to speak now. Lucien has been trembling, yes, but not from fear though. He's trying his best not to burst laughing. One wrong move and he could bark out a loud laugh. The brat isn't helping too. He's even calling Lucien to show off his muscles, telling the young sage he'll end up flying out of town once the brat punches him. Rebuild is a physical strengthening magic, wasting mana to increase the amount of muscle on the exterior looks. Looking at this dumb brat right now, Lucien really wants to know what these kids are learning in the academy. If only they learn his magic theory properly, then this brat will be able to learn how to properly boost his physical strength. Finding composure, Lucien points out this older kid can't do anything with just fake muscle. He's a bit sad to see someone with no proof and use themselves as an eyewitness. This reply doesn't bode well with the brat, but Lucien is glad he easily fell for that taunt. Irina quickly stands up so she could call a teacher, leaving Lucien to deal with these bullies for the meantime. Lucien knows, thanks to Irina, that the use of magic outside of classes is prohibited. But if that's the case, Lucien will make it so that they don't know that he used it. With that, Lucien uses dark magic Discord. Suddenly, funny-looking shadows appear atop the boys' heads. Because of these things, the brat is able to somehow hear his friend's thoughts. One is mocking the brat for this lame bullying, while the other friend is mocking the brat for using the only magic spell he can use. It's always the same pattern with the brat. Because he can hear their inner thoughts, the brat gets furiously mad and loses his temper, screaming at his friends to repeat what they just said now. Both friends fearfully step back as they try and make excuses. They're only saying those comments in a good light. As the brat raises his arm to throw in a punch at his friends, Lucien watches the three idiots fight. He's also glad his magic spell went through easily, but a bit disappointed none of these brats used resist to block his spell. Resist is a magic spell that can deter or protect oneself from a magic effect. Not using that is like being naked on a battlefield. After the brat knocks off his cronies, he turns to Lucien as he realizes this could be the young sage's fault. In fact, this brat even reveals he was using resist. So what did Lucien do? Hearing this, Lucien is appalled. Cause what does he mean he was using resist? But the brat insists he was really using it earlier. Now he's super mad and is about to punch Lucien straight on the face when his fist meets a wall. At first, the brat thinks Lucien is only using a defense magic spell. Lucien is actually using a non-elemental magic called threefold physical reflection. Suddenly, the force this brat exerted on the wall comes rushing back towards him, kinda like a boomerang. Now the brat's the one flying out of town. Lucien watches in anticipation, but is dismayed to see that the brat fell. The young sage did reflect the impact by 3 folds, but sadly, the brat didn't seem to fly as far as he had hoped. That just means punching someone out of town was impossible for the brat's strength to begin with. As the brat is busy getting dizzy in the bushes, Irina arrives with Teacher Gers in tow. She immediately asks Lucien as to how he's doing and if the bullies did anything to him. The girl sighs in relief when Lucien assures her he's okay. As for Teacher Gers, he's busy looking around. He soon realizes there's only 2 people here and asks where Linus is. Though Lucien doesn't know who that is, but he does piece the puzzles together and points towards the garden bushes. Teacher Gers is now suspicious of Lucien. However, he soon relaxes when Lucien explains it was an internal dispute after being bad-mouthed by his 2 friends. Linus got angry and started throwing punches. After hearing Lucien's explanation, Teacher Gers then tells both Lucien and Irina he'll handle the rest so the 2 can now leave. Before the 2 leave, Lucien is a bit suspicious as to why Teacher Gers seems a bit kind today compared to yesterday. Suddenly, the brat aka Linus wakes up from his quick nap. He's now storming towards Lucien, shouting angrily at the young sage. He soon stops on his tracks when he sees Teacher Gers, who then asks what brat is doing. All of Linus's confidence disappears in just a matter of seconds. Teacher Gers then reminds Linus of the school rule, not to use magic without permission. As this goes on, Irina quietly whispers to Lucien they should now get moving. However, Lucien's attention is diverted towards the conversation between Linus and Teacher Gers. At this moment, Linus is being expelled from the Magic Academy, prompting the kid to defend himself. Teacher Gers explains the whole ordeal to Linus. Because Lucien is claiming that Linus had used magic without permission and even used violence, Linus had broken the school rule. Hence, he is unfit to be a student of the academy and will be removed through expulsion. Feeling the gravity of the situation, Linus tries to plead his case with Teacher Gers. Apparently, it's not his fault and was just ordered by the one and only professor. Teacher Gers had approached him to ask Linus a favor, and if Linus did exactly as asked, Teacher Gers promises to make a recommendation for Linus to become a magic warrior after he graduates. This offer, of course, has Linus beaming. It's always been his dream to become a magic warrior. So, the gullible kid agrees to do Teacher Gers' bidding. Linus repeats the very order he received from the teacher. That's to beat up a brat named Lucien. Of course, Teacher Gers denies all this accusations and acts as if he doesn't know what the kid's talking about. Hearing everything, Lucien realizes the reason why the teacher has been kinder today. Teacher Gers, who wanted Lucien to go through pain, made Linus do the dirty work. But after knowing the plan failed, the teacher quickly discarded Linus like trash. Now Lucien feels a bit guilty knowing he was somewhat involved. Instead of leaving, Lucien approaches Teacher Gers and accuses him of being as equally at fault with Linus. This is clearly a case of mishandling a student who is simply following a teacher's orders. Lucien is now defending Linus, asking Teacher Gers to take responsibility for making the order in the first place. In denial, Teacher acts oblivious and tries to tell Lucien he didn't do anything at all. However, Lucien presents a strong defense, recalling the moment Teacher Gers had arrived. The teacher had immediately asked what happened to Linus. How is that the teacher knew Linus was their aide from the 2 that were on the ground? Teacher Gers uses Irina as front, telling Lucien she had told him about it. That Lucien and Linus were about to fight. However, Irina interjects, she never mentioned anything like that at all. Irina was rushing at that time, so she just pulled Teacher Gers aside while pleading the teacher to come to where the boys were. And just now, Linus had confessed it was Teacher Gers who ordered him to hurt a kid named Lucien. Now the teacher has no escape and no more excuses to use. Teacher Gers loses his temper and screams for Lucien to shut up. The teacher then gaslights the young sage. Apparently he was about to let Lucien go as well, but now he's expelling the kid for using magic like Linus. A calm Lucien bites back by saying the teacher had told him yesterday how his magic isn't magic at all. So that means Lucien can't use magic, right? Linus, who's been crouched in behind Lucien, is shocked to hear how the young sage answers. He's just a kid, but in Linus's eyes right now, Lucian's back seems so huge. Lucian then brings up the matter regarding Linus's expulsion and says it's unfair to let teacher Gertz decide when he was the one who created the opportunity for Linus. So, Lucian suggests they should discuss the matter with the headmaster, who can give them an opinion from a fair point of view. At the mention of the headmaster, teacher Gertz flinches and suddenly changes his demeanor. He stutters as he says there's no need to involve the headmaster since this isn't something big enough to report to him. Lucian knows the headmaster would be fair. Furthermore, the headmaster also had his whole face wrinkled up from happiness to have had Lucian transfer into the academy. Gertz wouldn't want the headmaster to know that he decided to expel Lucian on his own. If that's the case, Lucian asks teacher Gertz if it's really enough to expel Linus out of school. The teacher has no choice but to keep mum. Meanwhile, Linus is getting all teary-eyed from Lucian's heroic move. The bell then rings, signaling the start of their classes. Lucian sighs. He's now late on his very first day. He won't let this go too, and points teacher Gertz as the reason why they're in great inconvenience because of him. After Lucian presses the teacher to say something, teacher Gertz stutters a meek apology. When Lucian calls him out for such a lousy apology, teacher Gertz immediately bows down to apologize once more. In Lucian's mind, this isn't a nice view to look at, so he then urges for him and Irina to go. Before they could, Linus calls them. This time, a smile plasters on his face as he thanks Lucian for earlier. He's even calling Lucian by his name now instead of Brat. And not only that, Linus bows down to sincerely apologize for what he did. Lucian knows he also had his share of immaturity in the matter. He waves for Linus to stop, saying he also ended up joking around. Linus awkwardly laughs, not believing that was Lucian's way of joking around. Irina ends up asking about why everyone was passed out when she arrived. Did something happen while she was looking for a teacher? It's Linus how explains the whole thing, shocking Irina when she finds out about the magic Lucian had used, the one that sent Linus's attack back to him and flying away he went. Irina then realizes this just means Lucian can never get physically hurt. The young sage nonchalantly informs them it's not really a rare thing at all. Both Linus and Irina interject, saying it is a rare thing. Anyways, after that, the trio go to their classes. This has made Lucian wonder how things would go with a sudden problem he encountered right after transferring, but it seems he's able to have some fun in the academy too, even gaining friends. After the Gertz incident, the three safely made it to their classroom. When they arrived, class had already began, so it's kinda impossible to sneak in now. Irina is worried about missing class, especially that their subject is about spiritology and the teacher's really strict when it comes to tardiness. Vouching for the gang, Linus volunteers to go first since he's the reason why they're all late. Before they could do anything, the door suddenly opens, revealing Sorrel. Sorrel has her hands on her hips as she scolds the three for being sneaky. While Lucian isn't gawking about having Sorrel as their teacher, it's not the same with the other two, who are very much amazed to see Sorrel. They're very much stunned to see the one and only Sorrel Melislan, the youngest court mage in history. Sorrel quietly signals Lucian to keep quiet about them knowing each other. Then she casually tells them to get inside the classroom. She knows they're all happy to meet her, but they seriously need to get seated. Since the only vacant seats are at the back, that's where the three sit down. As class begins, Lucian asks Irina if the teacher for spiritology is Sorrel. Irina says it's usually a scary old man. Sorrel then calls all their attention, telling everyone she'll only repeat her words one more time for the tardy people. For the next 2 months, Sorrel will be teaching the class as a special lecturer. Everyone praises Sorrel for everything that she is. Cute, has beautiful blonde hair, just like a doll. Hearing all their compliments, Sorrel winks at her students, telling everyone they should feel honored to be able to attend her classes. She did become a court mage at the youngest age in history. Everyone is stunned. Whispers soon grow among the students on how Sorrel is different from what they thought. They did hear she was a sheltered lady, but it seems that's not the case. When Sorrel hears this, she scolds everyone to quiet down. As Lucian expected, being history's youngest court mage comes with quite a lot of popularity. In this noble-centered discriminatory society, it's quiet the achievement. Though Sorrel's overbearing attitude is giving the opposite effect right now. Dismissing the whispers, Sorrel starts today's lesson on spiritology. Meanwhile, Lucian hushes Ron to keep quiet during class. The young sage will be taking notes and listen to what they refer to as spirits in this age. Lucian then takes out his notebook made by gathered cloth. The young sage does face another dilemma. He's too tiny for this desk. His height doesn't match the desk height. Even Linus notices it and turns away to stop himself from laughing further. Irina thinks this is cute, laughing at how cute Lucian looks right now. He may be strong, but no one can deny he's a bit tiny, so Irina urges him to sit on her lap. That way it should be tall enough for him to see. Lucian can't deny it too. He even asks Irina if he can borrow her lap for a while, to which she happily obliges. Since this class is full of newbies and it's only been a month since enrollment, Sorrel tells everyone they'll start with the basics of magic. Magic is done through calling out the power of a spirit through an incantation. As a trade-off, the user's magic is then consumed as energy. The nobles are apparent descendants with the blood of the spirits flowing within them. In other words, because they are blood-related, they're able to call upon the ancestral spirits and bring out their ability for a limited time. Lucien's note-taking halts upon hearing this nonsense. Nobles as descendants of spirits? Who's the person who spread such fake news? He's never heard of such a thing 500 years ago. From afar, Sorrel can see Lucien's violent reaction. She has no choice, though. This is the standard that the Magic Academy teaches in this year. Clearing her throat, Sorrel continues the lesson. If they go to the roots of magic, it's a type of spell. The four great spirits, fire, water, wind, and earth, and a magic circle to offer prayers and incantations, which are the words of the prayer. Only when these two join together can mana then be used to summon the power of spirits and manifest magic. In Lucien's mind, he did his research on spirit magic 500 years ago too. Though the theory hasn't changed much from that time, there's one thing that Lucien's confused with. So he raises his hand to ask Sorrel a question. Performing magic through the use of magic circles means that one is exchanging an equal contract with the spirit. This is spirit magic scholars stated 500 years ago too. Rather than manifesting an ability, isn't it more accurate to say using magic through mediation of a spirit? Sorrel's mind is now ticking. To her, it's just the same thing. But Lucien says it's not. The right knowledge and the right understanding, only by having hat can the true power be demonstrated. Having even the slightest mistakes in understanding it can affect the manifestation of magic. Everyone stares at the young sage dumbfoundedly. Lucien then says it's faster to show everyone than explaining further, so he asks Irina to use magic like she usually does. Standing up, Irina calls upon the spirit of fire, asking it heed her call. As she utters the incantation fire, a small flame appears in her hands. After that, Lucien thanks her. Now he wants Irina to use magic with the thought of being an equal contractor in mind. Irina concentrates her mind on it before she calls the spirit of fire again. As soon as a magic circle appears and she utters fire, a bursting, raging fire appears before her. Everyone is stunned, speechless. Even Irina herself, they can't believe what they just saw. The flow of mana was certainly different too. Someone even thinks Irina had summoned a higher level of magic called flare, but they all heard her say, fire. Worn out, Irina's legs grow weak and sits herself down on the floor. She's still in disbelief with what just happened. Lucien then explains that was demonstrating what he just said earlier. Upon using the right understanding of the knowledge, the true power of magic can be manifested. Sorrel herself is also in disbelief. An equal contract with the spirit? She flinches at the thought. She then abruptly ends their lecture on spiritology and tells everyone they'll be having practical magic lesson in the exercise hall. When they arrive there, everyone tries to manifest the same thing Irina did earlier. Sorrel crosses her arms as she tells Lucien this is all his fault. If he hadn't said something weird earlier. Lucien defends himself, saying what he said earlier wasn't weird. What should be weird is their current lesson. Shooting magic at a 20-meter range? They're not kids that just learned magic for the first time. The young sage wants them to train their mana consumption and magic control even with the magic they're all good at. But then he suddenly facepalms himself. This is so shocking that he might just pass out. Noticing Lucien's demeanor, Sorrel urges the young sage to train as well, something he says he doesn't need to do. Hearing him object, Sorrel suggests they do something different. If he uses his magic properly and perform better than she does, Lucien can state his opinion. And by properly, Sorrel meant to call upon the spirits and such. Thinking it to be a good opportunity to test out the spirit magic of this era, Lucien readily agrees. They soon label their respective target points. After the signal, both of them will be shooting magic at their individual targets. The winner will be decided by the accuracy rather than speed. With Irina in charge of giving the signal, she then raises her hand and soon says go. Both Lucien and Sorrel call upon the spirit of the wind to answer their call. As they both recite arrow, an arrow-like wind releases from Lucien's hand and precisely hit the center of the target. Everyone cheers for Lucien for hitting the bullseye. They didn't know one can control magic like that too. Then they turn towards Sorrel's target, seeing it having no change at all. Panicking, Sorrel looks at her hands, confused why her magic didn't activate. Lucien calmly explains he interfered with her magic. It wasn't in the rules, so he thought it would be okay to do so. Now Sorrel's interested. This meant Lucien used a different kind of magic, sort if like multitasking. Sorrel is surprised since no one in the kingdom can do that. Lucien grows silent. He's surprised to hear this. He thought more people could do it. It's proof that technology did lower in standards to that point. Lucien then asks if court mages don't use resist as well, to which Sorrel begrudgingly explains she never thought to use it because she thought she'd never be interfered with. Smiling, Lucien apologizes for tricking Sorrel and points out how his magic would have bounced back if she had used his resist. Still, Sorrel is crossed-armed right now. The students agree with Lucien. This has Sorrel in a better mood. As long as it's not magic that she's unaware of, actual magic that Lucien uses won't be able to touch her in the slightest. With that, Sorrel tells everyone to continue with the training. Lucien, on the other hand, is happy to see Sorrel in a good mood again. Anyways, Lucien looks at his hands. He has realized it's been a while since he's used magic with keeping spirits in mind. He did feel the power of the spirit, but it is indeed different from what he knows of. What in the world are spirits? More specifically, what do they call spirits in this world? Curious, Lucien calls Sorrel's attention, asking if she's ever seen a spirit before. However, Sorrel says she hasn't. When Lucien asks if she knows what it looks like, Sorrel says it said that the 4 great spirits were fire or water itself. This has Lucien in thinking mode again. It's not different from the spirits he knows of then. He snaps back from his thoughts when Irina approaches him to ask if he's interested in spirits. Truthfully, he is a bit interested in it. Because of that, Irina suggests they go the archives together after school. There might be books regarding spirits that can answer Lucien's questions. Irina even volunteers to guide Lucien all the way there, something Lucien is grateful for. Sorrel has been watching the interaction between the two, and she's so happy and relieved to see Lucien has made actual friends. Irina quickly bows to Sorrel, introducing herself to the court mage as Lucien's friend. After giving her pleasantries to Irina, she turns to Lucien and tells him it's true she's relieved. Sorrel explains that she had worried for Lucien. He stands out and there's bullying. Despite being an academy, it's just a gathering for those who want to look down on other and show off. Lucien soon realizes this might be the reason why Sorrel came here as a special lecturer, because she was worried for him. However, Sorrel denies it, saying tutoring for McLean became less busy so she has more time. Chiming in, Irina smiles at Sorrel and calls her a kind person. This has Sorrel blushing and quickly walks away. She tells them to shush, and if they don't hurry up, they'll be late for the next class. Both Irina and Lucien agree though. Sorrel is a kind person. After school, both Irina and Lucien are headed towards the archives. As they walk, Lucien tells her about how him and Sorrel know each other. Lucien tells her a lot has happened, but Sorrel is his savior who's done a lot for him since they've met. Irina now understands why Sorrel can't leave Lucien on his own in the academy. She shares the same sentiment as Sorrel too. It's because Lucien's small yet so amazing. Is it his magic or presence? Irina isn't so sure what it is that's amazing, but she just can't look away. At least that's what she thinks. They soon arrive at the archives. Inside is an array of books on the shelves. This is the Eagle Magic Academy's archives. Irina then cheerfully suggests they both split up and look for books about spirits. After a while and a stack of books, Irina gives up finding anything helpful. Lucien is still reading a book, but he already agrees. He has looked for books from every corner that may have descriptions or histories of spirits, but there was none that contained much information. It doesn't make any sense though. The people of this era believe in it so much, there should be at least something. Activation of magic due to something called spirits. If it's a result of the advancements in technology different from his, then Lucien can accept the fact that it's just a kind of magic and there's a lot he can learn from too. Yet, they spread false information like during the spiritology class, and people of the top class such as Gertz and Sorrel aren't able to show that much of a big power. Lucien has been thinking that this is all because people of 500 years ago kept using outdated magic, but it weirdly evolved, or rather it degraded instead. While he's looking for yet another book, Irina pops in to volunteer getting the books he needs if he can't reach them. But she's surprised to see him afloat instead. Even Ron is floating. This is gravity plus wind particle magic combined, and Lucien calls this an easy magic to manifest. Irina is beyond amazed. In her eyes, Lucien is using a different kind of magic from them. As Lucien descends back on the ground, Irina explains what she meant to say. Lucien was able to use water and shoot it out, and now he's flying around. These things are stuff Irina can't do at all. Another thing Irina finds great about Lucien. Lucien stares at her. Magic that's different from everyone's? If he tells her the truth, will she reject him like Gertz did? But seeing the sweet, innocent Irina who's playing with Ron right now, Lucien knows Irina's not like that. So Lucien calls her attention and asks her to keep an open mind as he tells her something about magic. Both Irina and Lucien then go out of the archives and find a bench to sit down. Lucien then explains to her that his magic doesn't come from spirits. Instead, it's manifested through his mana organ, which is kind of a bodily organ. A mana organ is a type of organ that turns mana into magic. The discovery of this organ 500 years ago became a huge reason why the common knowledge of a spirit being necessary in using magic was being denied. Lucien then manifests a small flame in his hand as he explains that a mana organ exists in anyone's body from the moment they are born. By using this, Lucien is able to use magic without the use of magic circles or incantations. When Irina asks if she has one as well, Lucien immediately confirms she does. Irina raises a hand on her chest, amazed by the very thought of it. Lucien, seeing that Irina isn't rejecting what he said so far, is relieved. He then tells Irina he understands this new information is hard to believe instantly. However, Irina says it's not. It would be different if someone else said it, but it sounds real when Lucien says it. Plus, Lucien himself don't use any incantations when using magic, and that magic he uses when he fought against Gertz were all magic used with the mana organ. Now it makes a lot of sense now that Lucien had explained it to Irina. A smiling Lucien conveys his joy upon seeing and hearing that Irina understands. And based from Lucien's explanation, Irina also realizes he can use magic even if one doesn't have the blood of the spirits. After Lucien confirms that, Irina's head is now swirling from information overload. Then what's with the lesson about being blood relatives of spirits then? What about the thing where nobles are descendants of spirits and the spirits letting Therm use their magic? Lucien isn't so sure himself. But if more people used magic, Lucien thinks the people in the town would prosper more. Magic is something that should be kept within the hands of a certain group only. Holding her face in her hands, Irina comments on how mature Lucien seems to be. Compared to someone like her who wants to learn how to use magic better or learn more about it, Irina suddenly feels embarrassed for thinking so selfishly. Lucien assures her she's not selfish at all. Irina's reaction reminds him of his old self who also desired knowledge for himself. Thinking about it, Irina expresses her desire of advancing to the training school for court mages. Irina wants her name to be out there by becoming a court mage. Because if she doesn't, Irina will be forced to marry some noble's son from the neighboring town. Then, Irina turns to Lucien and asks him of his plans after graduation. If things go smoothly in the Magic Academy, Lucien can graduate in 3 years. McLean had already advised him to be a dedicated mage, but another answer arises from Lucien. He reveals to Irina of his desire in becoming a court mage as well. It's something he's been thinking about since he saw the students' reaction towards sorcerer during today's class. No one would lend an ear to a 6-year-old boy making a claim about magic. Only with a proper title and proving his abilities will Lucien be able to spread his theories to society. Although Irina had believed his story, Lucien knows it's only because she's an honest and straightforward girl. If Lucien becomes a court mage, which many mages look up to, then maybe there will be more people who will listen to Lucien. So Lucien promises to do his best in his studies to become a court mage and to find out what spirits really are. The two friends then promise to do their best before they head home. Irina also reminds him they don't need to go to the academy the following day since it's the weekend. When Lucien gets back home, he is greeted by Thompson, who asks him how his first day of classes went. Lucien doesn't know how to answer him. He can't say he ran in not Rubel with Linus because of his teacher and thought he was really late for his first class, only to find out that Sorrel was the teacher and they had a magical showdown. So instead of that lengthy answer, Lucien opts to tell Thompson he had a very productive day. After that, Lucien asks Thompson if there's anything he can help out with in the inn. Since there are no classes tomorrow, Lucien would gladly help out with work in the inn. With Lucien's keen interest in helping out, Thompson praises him for being so mature. Then he tells Lucien he can help clean until dinner time. Thompson will leave the third-floor hallway and the empty room in Lucien's capable hands. With the help of McLean, Thompson had prepared food and a room for Lucien at a low cost. Helping out is the least he could do to show his gratitude. The next day, Thompson hands Lucien a pail and a bucket. Lucien gladly takes these and starts using gravity on the bucket filled with water to move it around. He then starts mopping and scrubbing the floors. As Lucien washes the dirtied mop with water, he sees the water has turned black already. Lucien realizes it would be bothersome to throw out the water every now and then since he's on the 3rd floor. There's only one solution to this problem. It's to use that magic he got from God. So Lucien conjures space magic which connects through space, creating an entrance and an exit. If Lucien make an entrance here and create an exit towards the gutter for the drainage, he can easily throw away the dirty water. Then Lucien will use water to get more clean water. This is the perfect plan, though Lucien is curious about Thompson watching him earlier. Thompson had peeked through the incredible magic going on. From the bucket moving on its own down to the dirty water poured out outside and new water manifesting itself without going to the well. Well, he's pretty amazed at this extraordinary genius named Lucien. Suddenly, Lucien notices a pile of wood on the side. Tomosin then tells him he's gonna throw those out later. Thompson has dismantled a broken chair earlier this afternoon. However, Lucien asks him if it's alright to take some of it for himself. When Thompson agrees but then asks what Lucien will do with the wood, Lucien thinks about earlier. While the young sage was being told how to use the items earlier in the storage room, he had found a broken broom. Lucien plans on using blacksmith magic so he could shape the wood and granting it a shadow supporter as a finishing touch. And the finishing product? A golem! Thompson is shocked at the very sight of the golem. Lucien immediately explains it can replicate Lucien's movements. With this, the cleaning process will be twice as fast. The golem even starts cleaning the place, and Thompson is impressed to see it cleaning properly too. With all this commotion, Sorrel starts complaining and ventures out of her room. Lucien is surprised to see that the court mage is also staying at the inn as well. Sorrel briefly explains it's only while she's teaching at the academy. McLean had introduced her to this place. After that, Sorrel asks about the noise early. She jumps back in fear as the golem waves its woody hand at her. She screams in horror, asking what the thing is. Lucien then happily explains it's the golem he quickly made earlier. Hearing this, Sorrel is surprised. Golems are apparently ancient weapons whose theory hasn't been clarified yet. It's a technology even the court mage Sorrel doesn't know, so Thompson is even more amazed. Going back to her room, Sorrel denies ever seeing the golem and calls all of this a dream. She must be so tired from being a teacher and should hurry up and sleep. After she shuts the door on them, both Lucien and Thompson agree to get back to work as well. A few days later at the academy, the headmaster has gathered all the teachers for a meeting. Everyone is concerned as to what this emergency meeting is about. The headmaster then reveals he's received a notice from the kingdom's Ministry of Magic this morning. The headmaster was told to let their students participate in the upcoming large-scale beast control operation, and he has very specific students in mind, or should we say just one. Whatever this operation is, let's hope it'll do Lucien good rather than bad. Every teacher in the meeting are stunned to hear the headmaster's news. The students in the beast control operation seems a bit much even though the notice came from the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is an organization where the court mages reside. It's also an organization that oversees the operation of the Magic Academy. The headmaster asks everyone to settle down, explaining that the Ministry of Magic assured him that the students won't be put on the front lines. Yes, they'll definitely participate in the beast control operation, but will mainly be in charge of transporting goods, logistic support and such. The battle against the beasts will be fought by the adventurers and the white-winged knights who guard a part of the area. The headmaster is sure that there will be no danger that will pressure the students on getting involved in the fight. Now calm Sorrel understands this whole plan now. She remembers when she was a student at the academy, she was also brought out for something like this. They call it logistics support, but she was treated like an errand boy. However, she does think of it as a good opportunity for the students to get a touch of battlefield experience firsthand. The headmaster then continues on, saying the Ministry of Magic told him that they wanted around 30 people. They will all be heading to the forest where a lot of beasts reside, so they should choose talented students above the rest. With that, the headmaster gives the teachers the task of selecting the students and to create a list. The operation will be in 2 weeks' time, so the headmaster assigns Gersey and Hannah in charge of leading the students. Both men readily agree to the task at hand. The students will be notified this afternoon with a post on the signboard in front of the classrooms. With a small smile on her face, Sorrel wonders how Lucien will react after he hears this story. After the meeting, all the students pile up in front of the bulletin board. While everyone is interested, Lucien here is shocking Irene with his blatant disinterest in the control operation. Even Linus is in disbelief with Lucien's reaction, asking if he hit his head or something. Irene really thought Lucien would definitely be interested with this one. Lucien isn't so sure how these two see him in their minds. He is indeed curious about the magic the knights use, but it's not like they're going to the front lines, since they'll just be in the logistics. Pretty boring for him, actually. Now that Lucien has explained his reasonings, the two friends now understand where he's coming from. That's the usual Lucien they both know. Irene then expresses her interest in the control ops. Apparently they'll put it as part of a student's achievement on their graduation certificate if they join. Now that has Lucien's ears tingling. Since the teachers are going to choose talented participants, it's highly unlikely for them to be chosen as a trio. Still, it won't be hurt to try. An achievement is what Irene wants most right now. Linus even suggests they'll have to appeal to the teacher by raising their hands in classes each time. While the two are engaged in the topic, Lucien chimes in and tells them he's changed his mind. Lucien's eyes starts twinkling with passion as he tells them he'll also do his best to become a participant in the control ops. Irene is now pumped to see Lucien filled with determination. Linus also cheers for all of them. They'll all do their best to rack up some brownie points. With that, they decide to start their plan in their next class, which is a bit tricky. They all head outside for it, and there their teacher Hannah is already telling them how a healthy body holds a healthy mind. Both Irene's and Linus's optimism immediately dissipate knowing it's teacher Hannah's martial arts class. He's a former knight after all. Now Linus backtracks his plan since he can't butter up to Hannah's overbearingness. Today, teacher Hannah starts their discussion about praise. Lucien never knew there were martial arts classes in the Magic Academy. Looking at his wooden dagger, Lucien thinks about how this should be perfect for his current form. In actual fights, mages who have been caught are the same as scarecrows. It wouldn't hurt to remember how to handle weapons as well. Just then, Lucien hears his classmates complain about the class. To them, physical weapons are already so old. They're already in the age of magic right now, and they didn't come here to learn about handling weapons. Even Irina thinks the same way, questioning if this class is really helpful in comparison the magic classes they take. Age of magic, huh? Lucien does understand that this is something unavoidable. They're all underestimating weapons when there's no one here who has ever experienced actual fights before. According to history class, the last great war held in this country was around 300 years ago. In that situation, Lucien guesses weapons are seen as inconvenient with their shorter reach and need for continuous training compared to magic. After Hannah's discussion, he tells everyone to form a pair and face each other. Irina is immediately being called by another female student. Irina quickly turns to Lucien. She's not so sure what to do since she knows Lucien will be left alone if she goes. Smiling, Lucien assures her not to worry about him and to go. Irina mutters a quick sorry before leaving him. With that, he feels a hand on his head. Looking up, it's Teacher Hannah volunteering to be Lucien's partner. With their swords in front, Teacher Hannah says it will be hard got students to control their strengths against a child like Lucien. So Teacher Hannah assures Lucien he'll defend himself properly so the boy can freely hit him. Lucien politely thanks his teacher for the concern. This is Lucien's first time using swordsmanship in this body, but this is also a good opportunity to know how much he can move and react in a situation. He'll definitely give his utmost best for this. Seeing Lucien, Teacher Hannah remembers how Sorrel spoke highly of Lucien about his magical prowess. Still, he's only 6 years old. Hannah reminds himself to be careful not to hurt the little boy. Suddenly, Teacher Hannah feels an invisible sharp dagger on his throat. Hannah stares at Lucien wide-eyed. Was that sword spirit? Sharpness to the point that he imagined his throat just got pierced. Is it really a child that's in front of Hannah? Hannah then apologizes for underestimating Lucien just because he's a 6-year-old. This has Hannah understanding he doesn't have to hold back anymore. Smiling, Lucien tells him he's never tried swordsmanship before, so the same goes for him as well. After Hannah gives the signal, he charges straight at Lucien. Right now, as Hannah is coming at him full force, Lucien can already tell the teacher is using a thrust that uses the body and reach. This is advantage for Hannah, especially that if Lucien gets hit by that, his body will be blown away. However, Lucien also knows he can go under Hannah's chest in this child form. What's important is to focus everything on one point. Lucien single-handedly manages to throw Teacher Hannah off his game, knocking him off in the process. As Hannah lays on the ground, he wonders if Lucien really is just a kid from a village because of his terrific talent. Not only with magic, but Lucien is also this talented with the sword. As Lucien bows down to Hannah, the teacher is still in awe that heaven blessed this child with both these things. After Hannah recovers, he sits down and inspects Lucien's dagger. He can't believe Lucien managed to inflict that much damage with just this wooden dagger for training. Hannah is an experienced knight, so he already studied Lucien's moves earlier. Put in accelerated power and his entire body weight onto the tip of the dagger, and voila, it's a perfect counter to those who have an advantage in body size and muscle mass. After Lucien thanks him for the keen observation, Hannah then asks the child where he learned of this swordsmanship despite his figure and age. Lucien is left in quite the predicament. He can't just tell his teacher it's from his past life after all. That's right. In Lucien's previous life, he had mastered different kinds of physical attacks mixed with swordsmanship. It was so he could learn an efficient way of defending himself rather than to fight. By knowing the steps in attacking and its theory, it became easy for Lucien to see how he could protect himself. Plus, the mana organ is part of the body. Training the body affects the power of the magic and activation speed. Being the perfectionist that Lucien was, he got addicted to training and researching martial arts while he was on break from magic research. Even after reincarnating, Lucien continued to train out of habit from his past life. 1 out of 3 times it ended up becoming a game of tag with Anna. If he tells Hannah all of this, he'll probably just find him weird. Worse, suspicious. Right now, Lucien has to try and weasel his way out of this. And his amazing plan on doing so is to tell Hannah it's a secret. The teacher doesn't press further and just laughs, telling Lucien they'll both leave it at that. Hannah is then curious why Lucien is in the Magic Academy when he can use both magic and swords. To him, he thinks it's easier to accept if some great person changed their form and came in as a joke. With a serious face, Lucien shares how he heard that the current magic requires the right understanding of knowledge. Knowing the unknown, that's also needed to become stronger. Teacher Hannah barks out a laugh. If a kid like Lucien told him that, he doubts anyone will be needing an instructor anymore. Lucien then adds how he's not someone with a noble's blood flowing through him. Even if he tries to attend a higher academic institute, Lucien will be targeted just for being a child of a farmer. That's why Lucien needs something else to prove himself. Standing up, Hannah agrees with everything Lucien had said. He then says that seeing Lucien really makes him wonder if origins are of importance. This has Hannah having the slightest bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, he would have been able to use magic too. Lucien then remembers what Linus had said. Apparently, Teacher Hannah is a heavy warrior. When Lucien asks what that is, Linus says they're knights that don't use magic and are skilled in physical fights. Staring at Hannah, Lucien warm-heartedly tells him he can because that's what magic is. Hannah closes his eyes before bursting out in laughter. He then tells Lucien to attend different schools and prove that he's an exception even if he doesn't have noble blood ties. That is if Lucien wants to prove himself and not just have the title. Hannah even goes out to recommend Lucien to a night school after he graduates. Patting Lucien's head, Teacher Hannah then expresses how he's just a man having hopes for another man. Nothing rare. After that, another student calls Teacher Hannah's attention for a question. As he goes to the flock, he quickly turns to Lucien to say they'll have one more match later. Class went on, and before they know it, their class is all done for today. Before they leave, Teacher Hannah asks everyone to make sure to do some stretches before leaving. When Lucien reunites with Linus and Irina, he's looking rather tired. When Linus points this out, Lucien flails as he explains he's just a little dizzy. His two friends understand since Lucien had a match with teacher Hannah 5 times during class. He even defeated the teacher in all 5 matches that it shocked them. Who wouldn't be shocked when Hannah's the former captain of the Silver Wing Knights who's in charge of keeping peace in the area? He's also a heavy warrior at the front lines, protecting everyone with his body like a tank. Linus then adds how it would normally be impossible to bring Hannah to his knees. Now that Lucien knows Hannah is a former captain, he kinda realizes why the captain's attitude is like that now. Suddenly Lucien's eyes and body can't take it anymore and he starts leaning towards Irina. This is bad indeed. Lucien's body is at its limit. No matter how fun it was, 5 times was too much. After he apologizes to Irina, Lucien falls asleep. Linus starts laughing, saying Lucien's swordsmanship sure is amazing but his body's still just a kid's. With that, Irina decides to give Lucien a piggyback ride. While Linus carries all their bags, teacher Hannah watches the 3 friends walk away, thinking how refreshing he feels right now. Hannah had continued to train himself because he can't use magic, but who would have thought there would come a day when a young child would defeat him? Sitting down, teacher Hannah winces in pain. His body armor isn't damaged, but there must be bruises on his insides. Maybe a few broken ribs too. He then notices Lucien's wooden dagger from earlier and picks it up. Giving it a thorough inspection, Han can see there's no sign of it being enhanced with magic. It's just a normal wooden dagger. Laughing, Han is quite happy. Ignoring any armor and defense and dealing damage without magic? Who would have thought that was possible? Now Han is convinced Lucien's sword skills have already reached sacred levels. Sometime after, Lucien wakes up and is startled to find out that he's being carried by Irina. It's a good thing he's awake now since Irina was about to go to the infirmary. Linus had already went ahead to the classroom to drop their bags. After Lucien apologizes for causing trouble, he gets down from Irina's back. This has him realizing he needs to train more. Earlier he must have reached his limits and fallen asleep. His stamina is still like a child's. Irina then informs Lucien that the next lesson's classroom is somewhere a bit far and will gladly guide him there. But then Lucien hears noise coming from a room. He then apologizes to Irina, saying he just remembered he has something else to do. Leaving her, Lucien peeks inside the room where the noise was coming from. There he sees teacher Gers. Gers seems to be engrossed with something. He's muttering to himself, annoyed that he needs to be doing measly work like this. After all, he's one of the 30 chosen mages of the kingdom. Lucien is curious what Gers is planning on doing now. As he peeks closer, Lucien sees the targets used in magic firing tests and Gers is fixing them by hand. The one in Gers' hands is the one Sorrel and Lucien used in class. Deciding on approaching Gers to talk to him about it, Lucien goes eye to eye with Gers. It's only then that Gers sees he's not alone in the room anymore. Seeing Lucien, Gers isn't hiding his annoyance at all. Even Lucien can clearly see the look of disdain on his face. Continuing his work, Gers is complaining that he's been forced to do such a job as this because of Lucien. Fixing the target, cleaning the classroom, carrying the items, watering the flower beds, and so on. The headmaster is giving Lucien, who Gers calls a peasant kid, special treatment even if he doesn't have to. Hearing Gers grumbling this and that, Lucien never knew this happened after the entrance exam. Gers still isn't done too. He says magic academies are a place where only nobles can enter, and there should be a limit to scamming others by claiming that it is magic. Gers screams this is all Lucien's fault. Just when Gers thought a newbie teacher came in, it turns out that they're a former court mage and they have a higher status than he has. He's talking about Sorrel, by the way. He even calls her cocky and it pisses him off that he's blaming this on Lucien still. Lucien has kept quiet all throughout Gers' ramblings. Suddenly Gers gets a bright idea. His whole demeanor has changed and is now smiling at Lucien. He then presents Lucien with a mission to fix these targets until they're all the same. Lucien flat out says he doesn't want to. Gers tries bribing the child with a snack after he fixes all of them. But Lucien isn't really a child, right? Plus he has class to attend. Gers then tells him to tell the teacher he's doing this mission for him. Gers also assures him that a little tardiness will surely be forgiven. With that, Gers goes running out of the room, leaving Lucien to the task. Way too fast of an escape too. Knowing that he's one of the 30 chosen mages really lets Lucien know the level of this kingdom. Having no other choice, Lucien gets to the task at hand. He takes one target and sees the level of brokenness it has. Lucien can fix these as told, but with the targets being all the same size, it won't help increase the student's accuracy. It's fine at first, but then it can't be considered training after getting used to it. Since there are some nice materials here, Lucien makes the decision in making a simpler version of what he had used for training way back. Conjuring his magic, Lucien gets to the task. Sometime later, Sorrel is having a class on tactical magic. They'll be firing magic on the targets again. She then tells the students to take it slow with the activation of their magic, so they can just try to hit the targets for now. Once they've gotten used to it, Sorrel wants them to try aiming for 100% accuracy. Sorrel then notices that there are a few missing targets. Lucien immediately explains that there were damaged targets, so he made some improvements. Sorrel doesn't feel the looming figures behind her as she asks about the improvements. She never knew there was such, just knowing Gers is in charge of repair. Sorrel then screams in horror as she turns and sees the abomination Lucien calls his four-colored moving targets made by dark magic puppetry. Brown, green, blue, and red are the colors of the wooden targets. Let's just say they're not really getting the best welcome one would expect. Sorrel immediately goes to Lucien and has him explaining what these are. Lucien just tells her in a clipped tone that they're moving targets. That's not the point Sorrel's getting to right now. The students are still newbies who aren't even sure whether they can activate magic properly or not. Meanwhile, the moving targets are looking at the students. Suddenly, it starts raising its wooden hands and uses magic. It then launches an attack on the students. Now they're running for their lives, fearing the magic-using puppets. Sorrel is still giving Lucien a lecture on how the newbies won't be able to hit those golems at all. Her lecture is cut short when the moving target's attack hits the back of her head, rendering her unconscious. Calling everyone's attention, Lucien tells them that the wooden puppets' attacks will continue to come at them. Do they really want to lose to mere puppets? Motivated, the students now know they have no choice but to do it. After all, their enemy is just a bunch of puppets. They just need to hit them with some magic, right? However, their counterattacks are only rendered useless as it does nothing to the puppets. Still, they try again. Watching his classmates has Lucien thinking, even if it's magic, it's almost the same as shooting a ball of mana. The timing of activation can be calculated with the magic circle that appears at their feet. The more they panic, the messier their handling will become. Just like now, the students are in full panic mode and are fighting each other. One is annoyed of the others not giving the ones who can activate their magic some support. One argues not to order them around, and Irina is there saying she doesn't want to do this anymore. Thank goodness they're just puppets Lucien controls. If they were on the battlefield, they would have been wiped out by now. Another student tries attacking the puppet with water magic. Although it was a nice hit, the puppet still stands back up. Another student also uses reflect magic on another puppet. Still nothing. Lucien's wooden puppets will reflect anything other than a specific magic. He made it so that his classmates can defeat it if they observe and think properly. Lucien even gave him a hint already. Watching all of this happening, Irina notices something. She then points to the puppet's cloth that's wrapped around their necks. Irina believes these could represent the color of their affinity. As Lucien expected of Irina, this is the hint he was talking about earlier. Suddenly, Lucien feels someone about to come at him. Linus is in Hulk mode, saying in these kinds of situations they should just go and beat up the one who's behind the spells. Lucien stares at Linus's figure that's about to close in. There are mages like Linus, so that option isn't wrong either. However, since Lucien is using puppetry with automation, there's no point in beating him up. In short, the puppets will continue attacking even without Lucien unless they're defeated. Linus's fist halts at the very last inch. His knees then weaken, remembering the defeat he had suffered under Lucien's hands. He can't defeat his friend. Linus can't do it. When Lucien asks him what's wrong, Linus only tells him to shut up. Just then, Irina puts her theory to the test and uses fire to attack one of the puppets. Everyone, including Irina, is shocked to find the puppet defeated. She then explains to everyone else that the puppets repel wrong affinities. With Irina's command, she tells everyone to use fire affinity for the puppet with red cloth and water affinity for the one with blue cloth. Agreeing, everyone gets to work, fixing their breathing, taking it slowly and surely. After a while, everyone cheers as the four puppets have now been defeated. Lucien then approaches them, clapping his hands as he congratulates everyone. Who knew they could do this much against his automated wooden puppets that shoot out clusters of mana? It's a good thing Lucien didn't make it copy his movements using Shadow Supporter. Just when everyone thought it's all over, Lucien announces about a next time. He's so sure there are some who aren't satisfied with the results, so he plans on having another bout next time. With that, he urges everyone to do their best. Everyone pleads for no more. They don't want a next time. But Lucien says once they get used to it, he has to raise the difficulty level as well. Meanwhile, at the clinic, Sorrel wakes up. Sorrel then sits up and realizes she's in the clinic. Lucien peeks in and sees she's awake. Sorrel is a bit confused why she's in the clinic right now. When Lucien asks how she's feeling, she tells him not too bad. It's only then that she remembers she got knocked out by Lucien's weird puppet. Defending his creation, Lucien tells her they're automatic wooden puppets and not just some weird puppet. It doesn't matter what it is. To Sorrel, she's curious why Lucien would even make a moving target like that. Lucien then jokes he only did so as revenge for being forced to do teacher Gerz's work. On a serious note, Lucien really made those wooden puppets because of the upcoming control operation. Though they'll only be there for logistic support, they'll still be heading to a battlefield. Lucien thought it would be best to do training regarding actual battles. Sorrel bites into Lucien's explanation, commending the kid for thinking this through very well, but Sorrel can see right through him. This may be a front. In order to be chosen as a member for the control operation, Lucien needs to do something to leave an impression on the teachers. Lucien can only deny such allegations, telling Sorrel not to assume what other people are thinking. After that, Sorrel kicks Lucien and Ron out of the clinic, saying she'll be resting a bit more now and urges the two to hurry to the next class. As Lucien walks to his next class, he asks Ron if he's really that obvious. Turns out Sorrel was right. Even after that, Lucien continues his operation, appealing to the teachers alongside Irina and Linus. And soon the day of the operation member's announcement finally came. The trio are looking at the bulletin board alongside the other students. Linus sadly didn't find his name on the board. On the other hand, Irina's face brims in happiness as she points to her name on the board. When she asks about Lucian's, the kid looks rather displeased. Why has he been excluded? Is it because he lacks height and muscles? Even when Irina tries to cheer up Lucian, he's still shocked that he couldn't find the right words for a reply. It's unfortunate that he wasn't chosen, but there's no use in feeling down. With that, Lucien tells Irina to take care. Though it's called an operation, on the inside, it's still an actual battle. A warm smile forms on Irina's face, assuring Lucien not to worry about her. A crying Linus then chimes in, telling Lucien they're the staying back duo now. Linus then puts his whole arm on Lucian's head, making the latter complain about how heavy he is. Sometime after, the group are now heading out to the forest. Irina happily waves Lucien goodbye. Even Ron waves Irina goodbye. An inauguration ceremony was held on the day preceding the control operation, and they all sent Irina and the chosen troop off. Looking at Soral, Lucien asks if she's not going at all. Crossed arms, Soral tells him luggage-carrying duties doesn't suit her. Besides, Gers is in charge of magic-related orders while Hannah is in charge of the on-site-related orders. Lucien has no qualms with regards to Hannah's strength, and Gers does have superb skills, keeping modern magic standards in mind. Lucien began to feel that way after receiving many lectures at the academy. Though he did beat up Gers, he's still considered to be skilled. Lucien then excuses himself from Soral, telling her he'll go and greet the teachers. When Gers starts rambling about what Lucien wants or if he's there to complain about something, the kid bows down and asks to take care of Irina and the others. This has Gers stunned. Crossing his arms, the teacher says it's his duty to educate the next generation and he won't do such a thing as watch and do nothing. Gers then turns to leave but stops on his tracks to tell Lucien he's sorry about that time. Gers admits that Lucien's abilities are beyond standard, and he's been a bit mean to the kid as well. He's made fun of Lucien and his parents and those from the village who all support Lucien. Lucien quickly assures Gers it's fine since he's used to it by now. After Gers thanks him, he walks away saying that's what he's been a little concerned about lately. Soral then approaches to joke if Lucien and Gers have made up now. Lucien looks at Soral with indifference, saying they're not children fighting after all. Once the selected troop returns from the operation, Lucien thinks it might be good to talk with Gers about modern magic. The troop then arrive at the forest where they're supposed to provide logistic support. However, they're all shocked to see it all burned down and in disarray. They were supposed to arrive at the materials depot in the forest field and the students will wait to receive orders to carry supplies to the unit. However, everything's a mess right now. The students are now wondering if the monsters did all of this since they were told it wouldn't be that dangerous. Lucien comes to Irina's mind, promising to do her best so she could return safely and without any trouble. After a while, Gers comes back to inform Hannah of what he had found out. Gers had asked the adventurer what had happened, but he was too out of it. The adventurer just kept on muttering about the beasts being monsters. Seeing the shaken adventurer, Gers could tell he was still a bit confused. With that, Gers couldn't make sense of what the adventurer was saying. All he knows is that the front lines collapsed immediately, which was what led to the adventurer's confusion. Hearing all this, Hannah suspects the monster to be stronger than expected, or could it be that there were a lot of these creatures? Whichever it may be, it's not a good idea to just stay here. So Hannah decides on falling back while retrieving the frontline soldiers, then look over their situation afterwards. If needed, they'll have to do first aid on the adventurers too. They're not quite sure how much of the front lines had collapsed, but if the supplies they were supposed to carry out are in this state, retreating is also unavoidable. For now, they really need to bring the students to a safer place. Although Gers agrees, he's worried about this whole situation. Based on the information they've already got, there shouldn't be any beast that could cause such a situation in this forest. Meanwhile, back at the academy, Soral is starting her class on spirit magic. But Lucien's already raising his hand to inform Soral that he needs to go to the toilet. Since that can't be helped, Soral tells him he can but reminds him to do such thing before class next time. Before he goes out, Lucien asks Linus to take care of Ron, who's fast asleep right now. Of course, Linus readily agrees to watch over Ron closely. He then asks Lucien if he knows where the toilet is, telling him it's to the left after leaving the room. Once outside, Lucien hurriedly leaves and heads towards the forest. The troop are walking and it's evident to Gers that the students are exhausted. Being in this uncertain state of not knowing when a fight will break out sure is taking a toll on them. It would be good if they can return to the academy with no issues right now. Suddenly, a howling sound echoes throughout the forest. Gers immediately knows it's a gray wolf. Raising his sword, Han instructs everyone to brace themselves as the enemy is approaching. Not long after, a pack of wolves emerge. The students are visibly terrified by the sight of the beasts. Gers assures them it's alright as long as they do as they've practiced before. The selected troop received some combat training before leaving. In this fight against the beasts, Hannah will deal with them first, and Gers will deal with the remaining ones. The students are told to stay put and support the teachers. They all witness both their teachers defeating the beasts one by one. They're all amazed with them right now. Motivated, Irina decides to help out too. With that, she calls upon the spirit of fire to answer her call. as she aims her attack towards the wolf. Irina is surprised to see that her attack had hit the wolf. Han, on the other hand, is all smiles as he says that's the last of the beasts. He even praises Irina for a job well done. Gers is one proud teacher too, as expected from the selected troop. Irina's magic activation speed and accuracy is perfect. Gers then thinks about Lucien. If he were here, Gers thinks the whole forest might have disappeared by now. Closing his eyes, Gers recalls what he had told Lucien before they departed. He can't believe he ended up saying something so unlike himself. Once they get back to the academy, Gers plans on giving the kids some tasks to do as well. Just then, Gers feels a looming shadow above him. Looking up, his eyes widen as he sees it's a gray wolf. Was there a remaining beast they didn't manage to kill? No. This one is clearly different from the pack earlier. This one has a dark, ominous presence to it. Suddenly, they're getting surrounded by beasts again. Han is doing his best fending off these creatures and orders Gers to take care of the other side. Gers quickly activates his magic, calling upon the spirit of fire. Using Flame Shot, Gers releases an attack on the wolves. With that powerful attack, Gers believes it would have hit the wolves. However, they come out unscathed. Gray wolves are supposedly weak to fire magic. Usually they would be easily defeated with a single Flame Shot, but for some reason these wolves are resistant to fire magic. While Hannah is busy holding off another beast, he alarms Gers of the impending doom he's about to face. Gers doesn't have much time to activate his magic as the beast is now in front of him, ready to devour Gers whole. As the beast's mouth closes in, Gers already knows he can't activate his magic anymore. Suddenly, he hears someone tell him about how modern-day magic is slow. Lucien then uses Artemis, and poof, the beast has now imploded into bits and pieces. The other beasts have also exploded too. Gers looks up to where Lucien is. The kid is perched up on the tree, telling Gers how it's usually a death flag when the villain is weirdly kind. Gers is surprised to see Lucien is here, asking the kid why he's here. Lucien is at a loss for words. He can't definitely say he snuck out of school to rack up achievements. So he tells Gers how he was trying to go to the toilet but got lost, and before he knew it, Lucien ended up here. Lucien's reasoning sounds incredulous to Gers right now. However, he doesn't have much time to ask Lucien because Hannah is approaching them right now. After asking Gers what was that magic just now, Hannah spots Lucien with Gers. He then asks Lucien why he's here, and Lucien gives Hannah the same excuse, that he got lost while trying to go to the toilet. Unlike Gers, Hannah just takes it all lightly, even patting Lucien on the head, praising him for that magic earlier, as expected of Lucien, who made quick work of the monster that even Hannah was struggling against. Lucien then asks what had happened since it looked like beasts were attacking them. After they tell Lucien what's going on, he's very much puzzled with the fact that these gray wolves are resistant to fire magic. He's never heard of such a thing before. Moreover, Lucien doesn't sense any signs of the subjugation team fighting deeper in the forest. That must mean they've probably been completely wiped out. With that, Lucien tells the teachers to continue straight along this path and it should lead them out of the forest quickly. When Lucien is about to tell them about his plan, he then senses a lot of eyes watching him. A new pack of gray wolves are now ready to pounce on them again. Both teachers alert Lucien to watch out, but Lucien just stares at the wolves, noticing how they really do seem different from the gray wolves he's familiar with. Did they naturally mutate over the past 500 years? Before a wolf could close in on Lucien, it's now being ambushed by fire magic. All thanks to Irina, who got here in time. She's also surprised why Lucien is here. Lucien is about to tell her about the toilet excuse but takes it back, saying a bunch of things had happened. Another wolf is about to pounce on them again. Just like Gers and the others said, fire magic is almost useless against it. Lucien isn't shocked why they're having such a hard time bringing it down. Han is doing his best in blocking the beast's attacks with his sword while Gers is using his magic. Han never thought there were still this many beasts left. Now they're in a pickle. Gers commands everyone to stay close to the teachers or they might get attacked by the beasts. Lucien knows they won't be going anywhere if this continues, so he uses his magic to fly up to the air to target all wolf-type beasts in this forest right now. He then activates homing hit and target lock. Now he knows there are a total of 132 wolves in the vicinity. Today's a good chance to test what happens if Lucien combines his magic with spirit magic in an actual battle too. Calling upon the spirit of the wind, Lucien activates Arrow. Normally Arrow only flies in a straight line. It's a spirit spell that can only fire one shot per cast, but if he splits the power of a single shot into countless arrows and have them pursue the targets using the effects of homing hit and target lock, the result is a universal attack on all the beasts. From above, Lucien can hear the howling of the beasts in pain. Descending on the ground, Lucien inspects the surroundings for the beasts. They're all bloodied on the ground, dead. It's quiet too. Looks like Lucien's attack just wiped out every last wolf they were supposed to eliminate. With this, the beast subjugation mission itself should be complete. Lucien then suddenly sees black smoke rising from the wolves, what he believes to be miasma. It's coming from the corpses. Lucien has seen something similar in his previous life. If he remembers it correctly, it's magic called Battle Spirit Form. It's a spell that fuses the remaining mana and soul left within the target's body and turns them into a being that continues to fight even after death. Though this being becomes far more powerful, it loses both reason and sense of self. This kind of magic has to be cast by another being as well. Lucien doesn't know who's behind this, but being forced to fight an unbeatable enemy even after death sounds rather pitiful for Lucien. The black miasma has finished forming, and now a huge beast stands before Lucien. Raising his hand, Lucien tells it how it doesn't have to fight anymore and to take this last attack as Lucien's tribute. Using cannon, the huge black wolf disappears into dust. It's the first time Lucien's used this magic since reincarnating. He now knows he can handle the recoil even with this body. Lucien is then reunited with Irina, who immediately gives him a tight hug. The girl is very much happy to see that Lucien is safe. Even Irina is unharmed by the looks of it. Crying, Irina apologizes for losing sight of Lucien. She couldn't even find him afterwards. Irina then bawls out crying, prompting Lucien to assure her it's okay and that he's fine as well. Just then, Gerz's voice comes up, saying if a prodigy ends up like that, then they're no prodigy to begin with. He then asks Lucien if he was the one who used the arrow spell earlier. The arrow spell had swept across the entire forest. It was such a spectacular sight to behold. It scouted, tracked and delivered unfailingly precise attacks. Gerz couldn't believe Lucien made a spell like that. The weakest wind element magic performed something so strongly. Lucien then explains how he combined his magic with the arrow spell. Even a parlor trick can be surprisingly effective, huh? Irina has stopped crying now and is asking Lucien if he took down those gray wolves earlier. When Lucien confirms this, a smile forms on Irina's face, knowing now that it was Lucien that protected all of them in the selected troop and the extermination team. Irina then grabs Lucien's hands and thanks him wholeheartedly. The kid instantly blushes and looks away, saying he just did it to rack up achievements. Being told something like that while looking him in the eyes makes Lucien flustered. With that, Irina gives him another hug as she calls him her lifesaver. Han then interrupts them to ask if Lucien had defeated the black thing that combined into a new beast as well. Realizing Han is talking about the beast with battle spirit form, Lucien confirms this. Hannah then shares how at the Subjugation Corps headquarters, they are calling that beast the Berserk Grey Wolf. And it seems they were about to classify it as a disaster class threat and summon reinforcements from all the organizations. Gerz is shocked to hear the beast's classification. This has Lucien curious on what that means. Irina then explains how it's a system for ranking a beast's strength. Anything above the upper class doesn't have fixed tiers, so each case gets its own designation. Gerz has never heard of anyone taking down a beast from the 3 ranks above the upper class on their own. Even Hannah agrees. The Phantasm, Disaster, and Mythical class types are foes that require multiple S-rank adventurer parties to take those down. If the military were to handle them, it would turn into a subjugation campaign. Lucien had blasted it to smithereens with the cannon out of sympathy, but he had no idea that Berserk Grey Wolf was that much a formidable enemy. Battleform Spirit, who in the world cast such magic on it, and for what purpose? Meanwhile, Gerz and Hannah share an all-knowing look before telling Lucien how he was never here today. Lucien's actions, which saved hundreds of troops in the subjugation forcer, are something worthy of praise. However, if the military or the Ministry of Magic finds out about this, they'll probably treat him like a weapon or a research subject. And if that happens, Lucien won't be able to live the life he has now. Lucien's goal is to become a court mage to spread his theory and his magic. He doesn't want to be treated like a weapon or a research specimen and labeled as some rare individual. If people start thinking his magic abilities exist only because Lucien is some kind of special case, it'll be a problem. So Lucien agrees to the teacher's request. Hannah then tells him he has no intention of disregarding his achievements, so he and Gerz will bring this matter up to the headmaster. Gerz is more than happy to do so. After all, Lucien saved his life. The teacher will handle negotiations and give it everything he's got. And so Lucien left the campsite and returned to the academy, where Sorrel angrily asks about his whereabouts. Smiling, Lucien says he just went to the toilet but got lost, since there are plenty of toilets inside the academy building. However, Lucien admits defeat and immediately tells Sorrel the truth, revealing he got curious about the extermination team. Now Sorrel is even more angry. McLean had told her not to let Lucien do anything reckless, so he has to make sure he'll hold back on flashy moves as well. When Sorrel asks if he's been running wild, Lucien smilingly denies this. With that, Lucien bows down to apologize for sneaking out without permission. Lucien then explains how he only did so because he needs credentials or accomplishments that everyone will acknowledge. Sorrel understands he's doing it to make people aware of his magic, but to her he's being hasty. Lucien doesn't see it as nearly enough since he's just the son of a farmer. If he doesn't have good grades or achievements better than anyone else, no one is going to take him seriously. Sorrel crouches down to look Lucien in the eye. To her, just by looking at Lucien, anyone can see that what matters isn't his lineage. Her, McLean, and everyone else recognize his abilities. There's no need for Lucien to hurry since Sorrel is sure everything will work out just fine. After sharing a smile, Sorrel says her lecture is now over and asks what Lucien had gotten up to with the extermination team. So Lucien gives her the juicy deets. The extermination team was attacked by beasts, so he saved them with magic. After that, he took out 132 beasts all at once, but since one had undergone battle spirit form, Lucien had to finish it off with a non-elemental advanced spell and so on. This has Sorrel annoyingly pinching Lucien's cheeks for running wild, even though he said he wasn't. As Lucien complains on how much his cheeks hurt, Ron sees this and headbutts Sorrel, who's just lecturing Lucien again on what he plans on doing if anything went wrong. Ron is angrily biting in Sorrel's skirt right now. He doesn't want Lucien being bullied, but it's not what he thinks is happening. Crouching down, Sorrel asks Ron to listen to her as she explains how Lucien went off on his own to a dangerous place, ran wild and ended up in a very risky situation. Sorrel also highlights how Lucien could easily have been seriously injured, and that's why she's angry right now. Gone is the anger from Ron's face. In place, he's looking a bit upset that Lucien left him and went to a dangerous place. Tears begin to fall off Ron's eyes as he jumps to hug Lucien. Sorrel then points out how this cute fluffy thing is now sad because Lucien acted so recklessly earlier. From now on, Lucien promises to avoid doing anything reckless, and if he goes without permission, he'll make sure to return quickly. Once again, Sorrel's blood pressure goes up as she scolds Lucien, telling him to just stop going out without permission as a whole.